All right, and I believe with that we are live. It is taking a little bit longer to load the chat box today, so I apologize. And it appears all of my co-hosts have disappeared into the ether. But other than that, welcome back to the Council of Candor, everybody. So today's episode, if you can't tell by the title, is a little bit of a meta commentary one. We are going to be talking about the current state of D&D YouTube and how everybody thinks it's dying now. And hello there, not Alfarius. But a couple pieces of housekeeping before we get started. Our favorite little boy, Legacy, it's his birthday today. So if you see him in chat, wish him a happy 63rd birthday. The other thing is, with a lot of these bigger channels, I'm going to be critiquing and giving them advice. That doesn't mean I necessarily dislike them. And I'm going to specifically say we're going to be talking about how to be a great game master. That channel, I think, Guy's a fantastic guy. He seems like a very personable person. I think I'd get along great with him. I do think, though, that him, along with several other channels I'm going to bring up in passing, have had their D&D numbers decline due to it's not just the algorithm changing, it is fault on their own side as well. When my co-hosts show up, I will switch it around. Let me know, chat, if everything's working, since I didn't have anybody to test with me today. I'm 95% sure everything's good, but OBS updated, and you know how that loves to ruin everything. The last bit of news, me and Pag talked, and we are moving our podcast times to probably 5 o'clock now. That way we have a little more time, so it'll be between 5 and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday, and that we can have more time to talk about stuff. So, yes, with that chat, how are we all doing today? Is everybody good? I hope you all are. So we're going to talk about this current state of D&D YouTube, the death and the apocalypses that are occurring. You've probably seen lots of videos such as these, which, yes, I have watched them all because, I'm always curious about the state of my own platform. All these great videos here talking about how different people are retiring and the D&D YouTube. We're going to go to the third video here first. We're not going to actually watch it. I don't want to discredit any of these creators. All of these guys are great creators and are deserving of your views, at the very least, on this video that we're going to talk about here. The first one I want to talk about here is Man Shorts. Man Shorts is a fantastic D&D comedy channel, if you will. His videos have been doing kind of poorly lately. Not so poorly I don't think you could recover from, but other than his few sketch videos, which are the D&D but this thing, so like D&D but Florida edition, or D&D but Thanksgiving edition, those are the videos that Man Shorts is pretty famous for. He blew up several years ago before the pandemic. They were everywhere. I think D&D Florida edition was the one that got. I love you too, Blowfish. You have fun at work, buddy. But yes, that's one of my mods, by the way. Give him soft kisses every night because he's also working on his YouTube game. He's a race car driver for YouTube. But yes, certainly back to Man Shorts. So Yazek here, he's seems like another great guy. I don't know which part of Florida he lives in, and if this somehow gets put in front of him, I'd love to hang out with him, or at the very least interview him for the channel. We can go get a beer somewhere and hang out. But he tried to go full force into YouTube. He wanted to run it like a business. He hired on several editors, other people to be sketch stuff with him, and he really gave it his all. Unfortunately, I don't know the financials behind the scenes, but it seems like he ended up taking out some loans and ended up falling into a couple grand in debt. He's got a GoFundMe and stuff to help him out. He also makes music on the side and does other like D&D related stuff. If you watch Black Lodge Games video over here, where he talks about D&D doesn't kill channels, you do. One of the things that he brings up is that some of these channels aren't properly monetized. Yasik is one of the ones he talks about. His merch isn't quite good enough. It's not exciting enough to make everybody want to jump in there and pick it up immediately. And seeing as I have literally no merch, I have nothing to say on that subject. Now, another video that I really want to point to, because after Yazik, is how to be a great game master. His video here, and I'm going to do a bit of a deep dive on him, the end of how to be a great GM channel. This kind of broke my heart when I saw it. Guy wasn't the first. Esper, actually, the Bard, which he's down here, we'll cover him in a sec. But Esper is the first D&D YouTuber that I know of, and I think Guy is probably the 5th or 6th D&D YouTuber I found on this platform. and his content was fantastic. It's really helped a lot of novice game masters get into the hobby. In fact, I didn't need a lot of his videos when I started because I'd already been game mastering for a few years. But some of the stuff that he talked about helped reinforce a lot of the areas I was lacking in, and I would send new players to his channel to go look at his stuff. The problem, though, is Guy, along with a lot of channels that came out while he was there, you may have remembered, if you guys were in the hobby back then, Nerdarchy or Taking 20 or WebDM, a lot of them really used to be more focused on just a couple guys. Oh, it is 2 hours earlier. Yeah, it is. Sorry, Des. But yeah. So they focused on a lot of the. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Chat. Ah, yes. So they focused a lot more on pre-pandemic stuff, and as they were going on with the D&D content, when the pandemic hit, they all had to shift forms. A lot of them went from in-person meetings to Skype calls, where they edited out the backgrounds, and where they would focus on having more content, where it was just more like this live stream stuff, and a lot of it became much lazier in nature. And I think that's one of the things that really ended up ruining their channels, because as you're watching the content, it starts to feel regurgitated, tried. It's like again and again, I've seen this before. And a lot of it is circular things. Also, it's only so many times that you can do content about how to start game mastering. And from there, it kind of boils down to, at what point do you move past that? Do you move on with the hobby along with your audience? That's something else that I think a lot of these D&D creators, some of the guys who are on here who have struggled, don't seem to understand. Just because your audience joins you for one topic of a video doesn't mean that's the one that they want to stay with the whole time. A lot of people will subscribe to be just here for you. So they want to see you evolve your content with the audience's tastes, such as I think Guy here from Great Game Master could have moved into intermediate Game Master advice content, or maybe advice content for writing advice, since that's a lot of overlap between game masters and stuff here, or just general advice for fantasy, like how do you world build and things like that. These more generic and more evolved versions of the Game Master Advice channel would still work, because it still boils down to being great Game Master advice, but also allows him to add more content. And now, next slide here. This is Guy's current channel, and again, I don't want to pick on him. I think he's a great channel. I would love to, talk to him. He seems like a fantastic person. But Guy's got a lot of subscribers. He's got 238,000 subs, so he's a pretty moderately sized channel. I get it. We're nowhere near the big dogs at the top of the D&D chain, but Guy's not some slouch either. So with that many subscribers, with over 1,000 videos, 1.2 thousand, that's a lot of videos. You'd expect Guy to, even in maintenance mode, be getting a decent amount of views. But a lot of his videos, here's the last few he's made, they're getting less views than some of my podcast episodes, and I've only got 1,500 subs. I'm not trying to throw shade here, but I feel like there's something wrong with the channel if you're getting that few views per video. And I think I could tell you just by looking at this what's wrong. If we look at the current views, these 3 in a row are actual plays of a tabletop game, Mage Hunter. Okay. These thumbnails are all the exact same. None of these really excite me. If the first thumbnail didn't draw on a whole bunch of people, why would the second and the third ones draw you? Instead of having a related theme, it's just literally the exact same thumbnail each time. So what happens is, now if I find your videos and I'm a new subscriber, YouTube's going to push the newest video out to be first, typically, or your most viewed. But let's just say it pushes the first one here. The actual play, Mage Hunter Live, Episode 3. Okay, so now I have to go back and watch Episode 2 and Episode 1, which is a lot of commitment for me to catch up on what's currently the only running series on the channel. But if I go back and do that, I kind of get confused because I have to see down here or the title. And as you see, Episode 1, 2, and 3, it's phrased so closely. But the weird thing is, Guy has actual titles for each episode, such as The Knitter, The Town's Nice, ... Something to do with soap, ... Why is that not the thumbnail? Why is that not the thing that draws you in? Why is it the picture? You can still have these three faces, because I'm guessing this is character art that the players use. Have these three faces over here, and then instead of just that, you have something related to it, such as, whatever something to do with soap. Maybe there's one of the characters has soap near his face because he's grabbing soap. I don't know. I didn't watch these videos. I'm not going to claim I did to know what they are, because they didn't interest me. Again, I used to be subscribed to Guy's channel years ago, and one of the reasons I unsubscribed was I felt like it was getting very sloppy. Like, as there's just a lot of generic content being churned through. So when I look at that, then what's the other thing guys got here? The How to Be End of a Great Game Master channel. 124,000 views. So clearly people care. That many people showed up to say, wait a second, Guy's leaving? Man, I don't want Guy to leave. Even if people fell in love with him or have just moved on to other content throughout the years, there's still very clearly a draw towards Guy where people wanted to watch him and wanted to excuse me, sorry about that, sneeze. Wanted to find out, why is he leaving? What happened with him? And it kind of breaks my heart, because for that to be the big video that's getting all the views, gosh, you gotta wonder. Sorry, chat, it's a live chat. You gotta wonder, how does that make you feel? And if you look back at some of the videos just before that, almost none of them. Sorry, chat. Allergies are acting up. But yeah, almost none of his videos really break 1,000 views, or more than 2,000. A couple of them do. Look, he's got another actual plays for Dustborn Chronicles. None of these break 1,000 views of these 4 videos he's got right here. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's back on screen. These 4. So now if we're looking at the last 12 videos Guy's made, they're not breaking a whole lot of new ground. It's the same couple hundred people, which kind of sucks. And then he's got some advice videos. Right here, play advice. Work better together. This is an incredibly busy thumbnail. I don't know what's going on here. I make horrible thumbnails, and even I can tell this is busy. You've got all these different characters here. I can't make out a single one of them. And it's just layered on top of each other. And it's just got player bracket. How do you work better together like a team? I don't know what this is when I'm looking at it. I assume that just by looking at this is somebody wrote in asking Guy for advice, and this is Guy giving a response to that, saying, hey, here's some advice for a player. Here's the thing. He's got this big red and black section at the top that tells you what's going on there. That's cool. That's a great way for me to know exactly what's in the content, but then the rest of the thumbnail needs to draw me in. You guys know on my videos, I got the banner, it's usually got my face, or a face of the subject with the title. I think it's very great because it's easy to present, because I avoid this. The letters are blending together with some of the background images and stuff. It's kind of tough to see what's going on. That's what the banner with the circle I have avoids completely. You know what the subject is. But you should still try to have something appealing as the background picture. It's either got to be enticing, like what's going on here, or exciting, like, oh man, I want to click that. And again, look at the rest of these thumbnails. I'll blend it. Then look at the one that Guy made here, the thank you, happy gaming. He's happy. He's got a white background. You want to see like this draws you in, because the only image we have is Guy's face here, plus all the letters. And it's kind of sad, because I really feel like Guy killed his own channel. He just got kind of lazy. Didn't want to do more work, which is a tragedy, because, man, like I said, listen to some of this content, it got crazy. Some of the great advice he had. Sorry, chat. Allergies are really bad today. But I don't know how it is by you guys, which, by the way, stay safe in all this crazy cold weather. Here where I'm at in Florida, it's been raining nonstop for the last few days. And today we had a little bit of breakage in the clouds, so all the plants are spewing all the pollen out. Very bad. And as you know, I'm sensitive to allergies. So, yeah, back to Guy. And I wish I could help him out. Guy has said now, and this is something I do want to bring up. He said that he talked to D&D. He asked a YouTube rep, which you get when you're a bigger channel, much bigger than mine. They said, hey, how can I fix my channel? What's going on? And he said that the YouTube rep said that basically they're not going to promote his videos anymore. His channel is dead. The way Guy phrased it was YouTube telling him that we're killing your channel. Haha, screw off. I don't think that's actually what happened. I think a guy is misinterpreting that at best, or lying at worst. I want to assume he's misinterpreting. But I think what happened is YouTube told him like these types of videos aren't being promoted anymore. Nobody wants to watch live actual play anymore. And I'm sorry, they don't. The audience for actual plays is minuscule. Like Critical Role was big and it was huge for a while, but even they kind of fell off. You're in a much more saturated market now with for live content, and a lot of people can just watch edited versions of their content. Why would I go out and do all this effort of watching some of the live stuff with all the fumbles and stuff? I'll wait for the highlight reels. That even happens with people who live stream all the time. Not only that, but I don't know the production values of these things. You're competing with Critical Role first and foremost for the actual play content. You're gonna have to have some sort of production standards or some sort of hook. And I don't believe that anybody has any of these like those people with guys things has any crazy personality hook, or I've never seen a single clip from them. This actual play here's on episode 43, and he started another one. How many different actual plays does he have going on at the, for us to not have anything? I've seen a couple actual play clips get shared, but they're very rare. Then his advice videos, like, this is player advice, that doesn't excite me. Work better together? I don't know. 3 Kick-Ass Adventures, that's a bit of an interesting title, but it looks like they're kind of generated with AI. It's, look, this goat especially looks AI generated. So now it's like, okay, I got 3 pictures here that kind of look AI generated. I can kind of make out the goat. I don't know what's going on behind this thing. It looks like a sun, maybe it's some dinosaurs, and this is a brain with a lizard. And it's like, again, the thumbnail's very busy for me to know what's going on. But it got more views because this is an almost interesting topic. Then, not including the final video here, the video got the most views is 3 free ideas to add to your game. Okay, free game ideas to add to your game. Games in there twice. It's a terrible title. You should probably cut down the amount of words for it. And look at it; it's much cleaner. One background picture. It's a book. You could see what's going on. There's too many words here, but this is the cleanest of all these thumbnails. You know what's going on here. It's very easy to see and kind of get the idea of, 3 free ideas for my game? I like games. I like ideas. That's a great thing. I'll take those. And then this charity event here, which he did a month ago, for the campaign against living miserably. I don't know what that is. I'm glad that he promoted it, guy. I wish it did better, though. It's only got 400 views. Maybe got a lot of donations. I do want to go to chat real quick, because Neva says, D&D is beyond saturated. TTRPG content creation is probably oversaturated. Lockdown numbers were a bubble. Oh, you don't even understand. Chat, so those of you who aren't, super involved, and not just the RPG community, but, the meta around the RPG community, it is incredibly oversaturated. The lockdown made everybody try D&D. If you had if you had designed a game and managed to release it during lockdown, you probably are a multimillionaire by now. All these big D&D podcast guys who had books that they were slaving away on, all those Kickstarters, they all went through it. In fact, if I go back over here, that's something that gets talked about here. I didn't manage to grab Bob Worldbuilder's video. He's also got a great video on the subject where he talks about how D&D's live streams and a lot of the people who kickstart things are down tremendously. There's something I think Bob said there was 1,000 Kickstarters that were ran that were D&D related, and 60% of them were funded last year, and then 2 years ago, and then this year there was 3,000 ones that got attempted, and only 40% of them got funded. That shows you right now that there's a bottoming out of the market. And also, a big problem with this is D&D kind of royally screwed up. Wizards of the Coast made the hobby toxic. Remember, something that we have to try to keep in mind when we're playing this hobby, we're competing against every other hobby out there. You got to compete against Marvel movies. You got to compete against streaming. And back during the pandemic, we couldn't go outside. So most people who just want to go out to the bar or maybe go to a friend's house and just, watch some movies or play some cards, they couldn't do that. So you had an explosion of these stay-at-home type games and stay-at-home things with streaming services watching movies. And that totally burst and collapsed after the pandemic. People would go outside and start doing stuff again. And now they can do stuff again. Why would I play D&D? I know for a lot of us it's the great hobby and we would do it, but honestly, I've hated D&D since the pandemic. It's been terrible. Not just D&D, but all TTRPGs. during the pandemic, a lot of my friends moved away, and a lot of the game group that I had built up since high school, they just are in different parts of the country now, and we have to play through the internet. And quite frankly, it sucks. Nothing blows more than trying to play this hobby online. The in person connection is just gone. And I get it. Some of my best friends live on the internet. In fact, one of them pegged one of the co-hosts here. He's coming to visit me tomorrow, actually. So I'll be able to see him, and that's why he's not going to be here tonight joining us. But yeah, it's not the same. So all those people who were into D&D now have to, all the tools to be able to play online jumped up so tremendously that it's kind of looked down upon to not run your game online now. Obviously in person is still better, but it's like, oh, well, it's just fine playing it online. Not really. It's kind of like a diet soda. Everybody tells me that diet soda tastes good as regular soda, but I mean, I'll drink it if I have to, but why wouldn't I want a regular Coca-Cola? Why would I get a diet one if the real thing's right there? There's got to be another extenuating reason that I'm going to go do that. And that's why I feel like a lot of people are stuck with online play now. And I'll tell you one thing, it is pulling teeth to get some of these people to do basic actions online. Like, I love some of the players that I have at the table, and I don't want to train any of them, but I wish I could just see what they're doing right now, because like whenever I'm trying to explain a scene to them, there's certain players, I got to explain the scene 4 times. I'm like, what are you doing? What's so distracting for you? Or it's not even their fault sometimes. Sometimes there's technical difficulties. And we got to spend 20 minutes fighting the internet router to get it to be able to send 2 signals at once. Never mind trying to play with minis and trying to use battle maps. I don't have time to learn how a lot of these programs like Roll20 work. I work in, I'm about to get another job with security guarding. I don't have time for this. I just want to be able to set up my minis and run it. I know I'm an old man who's complaining at the clouds and technology, but just, I don't know, the magic is not there. So the same thing happened to a lot of these D&D channels. A lot of them kind of got sloppy, and I'll even call out another guy, Jacob today. Was it today? No, it was 2 days ago for XP to level 3. I like his content. He made a video where he's responding to his own comments, and somebody in the comments said, "Dude, I'm unsubscribing because your videos feel like just generic slop now because you're just doing reviews and reactions to content." And in his video, even he admits, "Yeah, well, that's what gets the clicks, though. So why wouldn't I do that? It's easy and it gets clicks." And it makes me realize, man, it's sad but true. How many content creators do you know that have gone from making killer content to just like reaction slop? I know a lot of the fans here are from EFAP or from Mahler's community and that whole side of the area, and I like those guys. I think they're great, and I would love to be on EFAP one day and just say hi to them, or open bar for sure with Drinker. But, Mahler doesn't make videos anymore. A lot of his content is more reaction stuff and hanging with his buddies, which is fine. I enjoy the EFAPs, and I enjoy a lot of the EFAP movies, but it's not the same thing. But as long as people are giving him enough views and it's getting watched, why would he kill himself putting all this effort in to make these tremendously long, edited, well-researched reviews when he can make 20 videos in that time that each are just simpler, more fun, and less stressful, to be honest? I can't blame him for streaming EFAP and making EFAP movies instead. Not that those aren't full of work. They're full of a lot of work that go to EFAP movies, but it's nowhere near the work that goes into one of his reviews or one of his unbridled rages or praises. And then it's also one of those situations where if you put your heart and soul into a video and it doesn't do well, now you're kind of screwed. I mean, one of the reasons I've thought about quitting YouTube multiple times is I've poured hours and hours into videos and they got nowhere. And it just feels like I'm throwing my head against the wall, and I've only got 1,000 subs, 1,500. I'm nowhere near the big channels that some of these guys have. So I can only imagine the frustration that comes about from it. Now, going back to this list of videos here, Professor Dungeon Master threw his hat in the ring where he's talking about how he avoids people killing his channel, how he feels like D&D is not going to be, his channel's not going to be taken down because he makes more clickbaity titles, which he doesn't, by the way. He makes titles that are catchy, not clickbait. We'll cover that in a second. But then he talks about how he works all the time. He's constantly replying to comments and answering emails and making more stuff. And it's like, that's one of the, so he keeps his views up, and he's got to make more news videos because that's what people want. And quite frankly, I want more news videos. I know people complain all the time that Dungeon Craft, needs to be more focused on making miniatures and stuff, but Honestly, how many different miniature videos do you need? He's got hundreds of them. Professor Dungeon Master has so many hours of great content you can go back and watch. Why do you want more? I mean, if he's got new ideas, of course I like to see it. And I mean, if you haven't seen his Caves of Carnage video or any of the I guess campaign diary things he does, where he shows the minis and stuff, they're fantastic. But like, they're a lot of work, and it takes a lot of effort for him to do that. And for him to do one of those videos, he's got to put out other content, or else YouTube gets mad at you. YouTube will. I actually got messages from YouTube today where it's saying it's been over a month since you uploaded your videos. And it's like, thank God I got this live stream. If I didn't have this live stream, YouTube probably would have demonetized the channel, and I would have had to go back from scratch and restart trying to get monetization. I can't take time off. I mean, my mom's got cancer, and I've been dealing with her for a month now, taking her to the hospital and working on that. So it's one of those things where I can't tell YouTube, hey, I have to take time off. My mom's got cancer, and you're not paying me, by the way, YouTube. And it's already breathing down my neck trying to get me to do more content. Versus, I can only imagine how hard it must be for somebody who's got this as a primary or secondary income that they have to constantly focus and go against the grind for. It's just got to be draining and got to be straining. So, yeah, I can really see just why Professor DM feels like he's got to do all these things to keep his videos going. But he kind of doesn't, is another thing. That's another thing I think that you need to be talked about. It's not him it's not him scamming and playing it. The audience is there for this. Like Never said, it's very oversaturated. If I want Game Master advice, I can personally think of 10 channels that are stellar that have hundreds of videos on Game Master advice. What am I going to offer? Like, why would I click your video as a Game Master advice channel? But Professor Dungeon Master's news stuff is great. I think he's the best at covering news. I know people complain about whenever he talks about news on this channel, but that is my favorite Professor Dungeon Master content. Besides, of course, the edited campaign stuff he does, which that is the best. But his news content's great. He actually goes into it and goes into the idea where he's like, hey, I want to talk about the news, and he breaks it down from a more analytical perspective. I mean, I know there's a lot of slop channels out there like Clownfish TV where they just pull up a news article and react to it, which, yeah, a little bit of shade Clownfish TV. You guys keep popping up my subscription. Or that, what's that one lady with the colored background where every video is like, D&D is doomed, and she's Irish. She seems like a very fun chick to have a beer with, but like every video is kind of the samey. Whereas when I go to Professor Dungeon Master, it feels like I'm talking to like my uncle about this. He's got some much more interesting ideas about it. He talks about the finances behind it. It's not just, it's the liberals coming to kill D&D again, or, oh my God, can you believe J.D. Vance is playing D&D? No. Professor DM doesn't get into all the culture war stuff. He just talks about finances and stocks, and that's, to me, the most interesting part of it. I want to know these things. I want to learn about this part of the hobby because I find that some of the most fascinating things here. He's the only one delivering that. So that's why those videos get so many views, because we watch them. And that's what Black Lodge Games over here talks about. The reason D&D channels are dying is because we're not watching their content. Chat could be a quick thing from that Alfarius. Patrician TV has actually talked about why he limits how much time he streams and appears on other channels like EFAP because he doesn't want to become one of those channels that stops making videos. Yeah, I completely understand it. Because, man, streaming is so much easier than making a video. I'll tell you right now, chat, just so you guys understand. Let me see if I can pull up, while I talk, I'm going to try to pull up some of my YouTube analytics, just so I can show you guys how tough it is to make money on this stupid platform. It is just flat out not fair in terms of the differential you get from YouTube for monetization. Let's see, my analytics. I think I go to revenue. And I'll put it on the screen in a second, guys, don't worry. Let's see, revenue, I'm going to do all time. And, yeah. I don't know how to do this other thing. I can do it on the phone pretty easy. But while I'm pulling it up, it is ridiculously different. If a single person right now gives me $2 on this YouTube live stream, that will already be more money than I made on 90% of the videos I've ever uploaded to this platform. Isn't that ridiculous? Like, that's, to me, it feels insane. You know, a single $2 super chat is way more than most of the videos. It kind of hurts a little bit, to be honest. All right. Let's see. I'm going to get the screen pulled up for you guys. Let me turn off the PowerPoint. Let me get, not that one. What's the opera? All right, chat. I'm going to show you. These are my top performing videos done by, and yes, I know I'm still adjusting the boxes. Slide it over. Estimated revenue. In the lifetime of my channel, I made $423. All right, these are get ready. You're not ready for the videos that made me this money. Boom. These are the videos that have made me all this money. This is how I'm, the biggest, richest guy of all time with my $423. By the way, I've spent more than that on a live stream, on assets for the channel, on the microphone, and some of the editing software I've used. Let me just get this a bit more easy to see for chat so we don't lose you guys. Boom. This is all the content that I make. All of it. This is the lifetime of my channel here we're looking at, guys. The number one video is the Stars My Destination video, live stream with 80 views. And that's solely because of super chats. It made me $105. Then I look at when I covered Joseph Narakami, he was bullying Black and Rooney. That's my next biggest thing. Made me $50 almost, $49.91, 200 views. Then we have my last two videos that I did that were not even last two, a few videos that really had an incredible breakout success. The Hobgoblins in Fantasy video and Bugbears in Fantasy videos. These videos each represent 60 to 70 hours worth of work with research and editing. Every minute that you see on the screen, so this is a 17-minute video, each minute takes me an hour of time to edit that together. So this Hobgoblins video, which is 28 minutes long, took me 28 hours of just editing. That doesn't include the research that I did. Doesn't include the scripting, the redrafting, and the editing of the thumbnails. No. So these two videos represent a combined total of, I'd say, probably about 120 to 130 hours worth of work. I made $31 and I made $27. That's it. So that means I made about $50 versus the Joseph Narakami video. The total time that the video is 2 hours and 16 minutes. It probably took me an hour to get the live stream set up, 2 hours to watch Joseph's video originally, and make sure it was worth getting it, and then getting the cast together. It took me 5 hours and I made $50 versus it took me hundreds of hours to make $56. Do you see what I'm saying? How outsized it is? And then let's go down to the next ones. It's last week's live stream with Neil Gaiman. That made $25. The writing politics video I did a few months ago, $16. My 1,000 subscriber special from last year, $15. We see the Dragon Age Dilemma, $13. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Dino Summer Begins, $12. Then is my Dinotopia video that I made a few weeks ago, $8. You see, of all the videos I made on this channel, more than half of them are not live streams, and it is completely stupid for me to be able to forward my channel to not just live stream. And YouTube knows that. YouTube keeps rewarding me. The reason I'm still monetized is solely because you guys are on live streams. So I can understand how all these channels, like Donald Ferry said, like Patrician's worried about getting lured into, it's ridiculous. If I go back to my content, you can see all the video I made. It keeps going down and down and down. If I get a $5 super chat, YouTube takes 30% of that, which means it's $3. They take $3. That means that for the history of Slimes and Fantasy, the magic behind your dice, how to world build with orcs, ogres, kobolds, the Rakshasa video, hobbits, all the videos of minotaurs, vampires, it's outsized. A single $5 donation after YouTube took their cut. Remember, I'm even calculating after YouTube took their cut. The streams, are ridiculously outsourced. Never mind, Yeva said, it is ridiculous when you have merchandise and like you have sponsorship. Man, if I can make a video and a sponsor says your video needs to get 100,000 views, and I have two options here. I can either spend 60 or 70 hours making one of my really highly edited Hobgoblin and fantasy videos where it's like nice, it's really well done, and it takes this effort, and it's like, okay, that's done. Or I can do it, again, not throwing shade, but XP Level 3 did for his last video, where he just records himself replying to people's comments, and that gets the same amount of views. Why wouldn't he not do that? Like, he's killing himself in terms of effort. It's ridiculous. I personally hate the way it is. And this is all, like, us as the audience's fault. It's insane that we're stuck with the situation. And I don't know how to fix it is the weird part. Slop content just gets way more views on YouTube than anything else. Like, putting in high effort content very rarely gets views until you get to the point where you have Patreons. Once you got patrons and people donating money to you to like allow you the time to do it, you can make buku cash on that. It's just absolutely ridiculous, some of the stuff that happens, the way it functions, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what YouTube wants from us, and I don't know how to like make it work better. If I had the secrets, I wouldn't be sucking 1,000. The algorithm sucks, so I actually think it's a fantastic point you bring up, the algorithm. I always hear content creators complaining about the algorithm. Heck, I've complained about the algorithm too. But there's a certain point where the algorithm kind of doesn't matter anymore, and I'll explain why. Mr. Beast, who is the biggest YouTuber out there, love or hate the guy, doesn't matter. He knows how the YouTube game works. He said on multiple times when people talk to him, like, how do you get big? He said, after you get about 10,000 subs, you've got a core audience at that point. You should never say the algorithm didn't like this video or the algorithms, changed their opinions. It's the audience, because the algorithm is replying to the audience. Before 10,000 or so subs, which is where I'm stuck at, the algorithm doesn't have enough data to know where to put your videos. It's struggling to try to find you an audience. It's only recently, as you can see from my last two History of videos that both broke 5,000 views, that's where it's starting to figure out, these are the people who you should show your videos to. It took me a year and a half of slamming my head into the wall before YouTube finally knew where to put my videos. I basically became burnt out from YouTube from trying to figure out how to get YouTube to put my videos in front of the right people. Sometimes you get lucky and it puts it in front of the right guy. That's to get those explosive growths. And once it happens, it knows who to put it in front of. But other than that, when a lot of these big guys, like How to Be a Great Game Master, complain about the algorithm, it's not really the algorithm. It's the audience's taste changing. That happens way more than people seem to give it credit for. That's why some channels fall off and move around. Besides them getting lazy, besides them making repetitive content, audiences' tastes do change. Just great example. If you were still making LOL, XD, I'm So Random, RAR, dinosaur videos, like from when I was in middle school in the year 2000, you think those would still be doing well? Maybe some ironic people would still be watching them, but like you go to Newgrounds, that was the entirety of the front page. Those Newgrounds had people who made those videos, made in like games like that, made so much money that they made their own game studios like Behemoth and are still to this day running game studios. But they don't have that same humor. Maybe they include some of that style of humor in their games and videos still, but that's their core focus anymore. And by the way, I would like to let you all know, chat, we are no longer solo. We have gained a new homie. Welcome, Mr. Pops.
Hello, how's my sound coming through?
A little loud. I'll below you for chat.
All
chat,
right.
You're going to have to let me know how Pops comes through. I screwed up today, chat, just so you know. We're supposed to start at 6 o'clock. For some reason, I had it in my head 5 o'clock. So
yeah, that's why I wish I noticed you messaged us. I wasn't even looking. I was on the way home so that I could jump in for 6.
Yep, that's completely on me. So anybody who shows up today is a blessing of it.
Yeah. So we're not going to talk about how Mr. Beast is an industry plant or anything like that, because he still has some knowledge when it comes to like curating your videos, and other people have talked about it. Like, I think he was kind of associated with not Sneeko. It was another guy who's around his age who was making videos with him like a few years ago, and he's watching him and he's talking about he needs like this exact detail. He wants this exact image for the thumbnail and everything. He's perfectly curated. It's something that people you might have a feel for it, but it's like he has it on another level. The way that he
Exactly.
goes into detail with that stuff.
Yeah, and it works. Some people like Pop said just know how to kind of make the algorithm do what they want it to do. And that power, that talent really is what separates a lot of the big YouTube guys. Now, granted, there's still some luck involved. I'm not going to say that there's no luck involved with a lot of these things. But a lot of the luck isn't so much the algorithm picked up your video. It's your video hit, either was hit a market gap in the algorithm that you happen to find, or something trending happened. I think one of the funniest examples is a great YouTuber, Cam Sandwich, who reviews board games. Love that guy. He covered uh, one of the things that made his channel get super duper big, because he was big for a while there, but he not big. He's it's growing for a while. But one of the things that blew him up is there's a day that he was talking about celebrity board games, and one of these celebrity board games he covered was the Trump board game, and he was talking about how this game, was outstanding. And one of the phrases he used is, "I don't understand why this was a blowout success. This is the biggest tragedy to happen to Trump." And then that was the same day that the assassination attempt happened. So everybody was talking about how that video was out for like 6 hours before that attempt happened. So that just blew up his video because people were making jokes about how he predicted the assassination attempt. He clearly didn't. But like that's a piece of luck with the algorithm for him. Very unlucky for Trump that day, of course. But that blew his video up because it got associated with this terrible situation. So that's the only time I see luck really playing into the algorithm. Any thoughts on that, Pops? Pops seems to have unfortunately fallen off the earth again. It's okay. Hello, Garbled.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Right.
Have I finally escaped from the basement?
Yes.
Had a technical difficulty for a second. I couldn't unmute myself for a moment.
It's okay.
I would
Okay,
say,
I couldn't do that for a while myself.
yeah. Yeah, as far as lucky for Trump or unlucky, it depends on how you look at it. But yeah,
Not Ferris just said that too, exactly. But no, so it's just one of those things like that blew up his channel. There's no way in hell that he could have predicted today reviewing the Trump board game, where it's basically a Monopoly ripoff, is going to is going to coincide with the assassination attempt to make his channel blow up. He couldn't have predicted that. Like that's just how did that happen?
Hmm.
That's one of those just pure luck situations. For Cam Sandwich anyway. But yeah, Garbled, you probably have some thoughts on the algorithm too.
Man, I sure do love the algorithm. It sure is the best. I feel like there is like ways to game it of like guys, there's technically a formula in order to do this. So first things first, autistically spurg out about one specific topic and just don't do anything else for like 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, it's finding a niche.
And then you just success.
well, that's part of building a core audience, isn't it?
Yeah. But also, like, you have it so that way you can then branch out into other places. So there's like a lot of really big YouTubers out there that I follow that had like this original, like, much more niche start. Like, do you guys know Doug Doug?
I know
Not
of
me.
them, I don't watch them.
Yes. So what he's currently doing a lot of is like, oh, I'm a Twitch streamer, but then I integrated like AI, and he has these really stupid challenge videos where the entire point is that, hey, Twitch chat, I need to have below a certain amount of viewers. We have too many viewers. We have to stop. And he started out doing analysis videos, and the one that I remember the most is where he compared Overwatch to TF2. And that's where he started and just really went hard on that. And then like 2 to 3 years later, he's just like, yeah, I'm just sort of like variety streamer, doing whatever. And it happens a lot more than you think.
Or yeah, there's only so much you can say about a given topic.
Yeah. But you have people who do like insane challenge runs of like one specific game.
Mm.
And they just get a whole bunch of views. Like Pokemon had Nuzlocke challenges for a while, and that was just the best thing to do.
Yep.
So
And
much so that I've
then
even seen D&D guys jump on the Pokemon Nuzlocke thing.
yeah, cool because it was. Well, no, I don't really need to talk about like the infinitely repeatable, but the point I'm trying to make is that it's very easy to like quote unquote game the system, but sometimes you just sort of get like those videos where it's like, yeah, I covered the Trump board game. What do you mean he got shot? And it just works out really well.
Suddenly it's in the news and it helps bump everything out. But
Yeah, Nuzlocke specifically is one of those things. It's like engaging. You do feel invested because there's high stakes, you know. So it's one of those things that kind of just instinctively draws people in that way.
exactly. And the other thing about it is, like we talked about earlier, with when I was talking about guys' videos being more slop and Jacob's being more slop from XP level 3. That's why he even admits it's like, yeah, it's easier to make this content. Like, why wouldn't I? Nuzlocks are not hard to make. I'm sorry, but Nuzlocks aren't very hard to do. And hello, James.
They're really not.
The thing that sells you on a Nuzlocke isn't just it's not the difficulty of the challenge or the subject. It's you watching the banter and some of the things that get set up. Again, it's kind of like the live streams here. I could make a fully edited video on this and be much more concise to the point, but a lot of people want this shenaniganry that happens here. They want the crosstalk and they want the long content.
Well, it's like cooking. Like you have a giant bowl of broth that you're trying to cook, and you can give it like 2 hours, and it'll get everything in, and it's gonna be really high quality. But the issue is that it takes 2 hours, and by the end of it, you're just gonna have a lot less because that's just how broth works. You have to cook it off. But it just takes a lot more time and effort to make something that's a lot more high impact. Whereas just like, well, what if I just like didn't do that? People enjoy it anyway, and it doesn't mean that I have to go to the editing studio for like 10 hours or something just to get this all perfectly correct. And then when I do that, it doesn't even make as many views as if I made TikTok reaction videos.
Yeah, it's return on investment. That's about the return on investment for your effort. It's like if you make the same amount of money doing something easier, then you're going to do something easier.
And obviously, it's not just finances. And then I know somebody's going to argue and say that eventually, but it is though, Chad. It's the thing. Like I'm making money on this thing. I'm not doing this for the love of the game. It's not just and it's not even if they say, well, finances are not a part of it. How much time am I spending on it? How much effort am I putting into this? It's just if I was allowed to, and I knew it would do, and I know it would do well. So I'm never going to do this, but I could just pop a live stream on right now and just tell you guys all the crap that I learned doing research instead of making a highly edited video. Don't gotta go through all the effort and verify my sources, make sure each source is cited on screen, make sure I have the up-to-date versions of the sources that I'm talking about. No, I can just ramble off all my sources, and I've seen plenty of content creators do that, and it gets way more views. But I wouldn't feel good about that. That's one of the things I hold to myself is I will never, for my history of videos, those to me are academic pieces, and I want them to be respected as such, and I want them to be put on here. I want people 100 years from now to be able to watch those things and understand how we got to the situations. And that's personal pride, though. If I was smart, I would just make slop videos, put out one a week, and I would already have 10,000 subs.
Yep.
You know how easy it would be to make RPG React videos? The bard is horny. Oh, no.
Oh, my God, the bard's horny? Oh, it's such a creative and new idea. I've never heard of this before.
You mean the Eldritch Blast?
Oh, my God, he just uses Eldritch Blast. Oh, my God.
Another one spell. By the way, James has got an interesting question. What would you say the lamest genre for tabletop games? By lame, I mean boring. So, the problem you got to run into with that question is the 99% of the reason that a tabletop game is lame is because your game master or your players suck. That's the biggest thing that makes your content lame. On that, though, if I had to pick like a genre or time period that I think is pretty boring, I'm going to probably get shot tomorrow for saying this, but I find the far future to be the one that's the most boring.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Oh, dodged a bullet there.
Well, what did you think I was going to say, Garbled?
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say steampunk. I feel like that one's just like terribly underutilized.
You like steampunk?
Yes, I do, and like steampunk quite a bit. I just wish I could get into it more.
Here's how steampunk is. Steampunk is the pumpkin spice of D&D.
I hate you, but you're not wrong.
Everybody who's into it thinks they're interesting and quirky. It's pretty much normal and generic. And do you think the Wild West is lame? James, go right now. Go watch Wild Wild West with Wild West with
Will Smith.
Will Smith. Go watch that film and tell me you think it's boring. In fact, there's another game. It's called Deadlands. I'm just described to you the mechanics, some of the things that happen in Deadlands. In fact, there's a Puff and Forest video that I'm going to probably DM to you, James,
So just
of when
real
he
quick,
played
kid.
Deadlands. And while he played Deadlands, one of the things that happened is him and his cowboys went to a ghost town to find out why it was abandoned, and they found out that it was a mining town. But instead of mining gold, they found it was like a tar pit in the mountain. They were mining dinosaur bones. And one of the miners there got in an argument with the Native Americans, and the Native American put a curse on him that the next thing he touched would come back to life, assuming it would be like some food or something. And the guy touched the Tyrannosaurus thing, so it killed the entire town. So now there's cowboys fighting an undead, like, skeleton Tyrannosaurus Rex. That is the coolest thing I've ever heard of. Lame is not even common. In Deadlands, though, the game itself, I've never seen it done. I've only heard it described to me. But the way that you get your spells in Deadlands is you make a deal with the devil, because he's the only guy who's got magic. And every single time you cast a spell, you got to play a hand of poker with the devil. And if you lose, he takes your soul. How is that not the coolest shit you've ever heard in your life? Like, think about that. You got to play a hand of poker with the devil to get magic back. That's so cool.
I like that. Yeah.
It's really cool.
I like that mechanic. Yeah, having supernatural abilities should come with some sort of stakes. Yeah.
I don't know how it's balanced or how it works in the game, and I don't own those rule books, unfortunately. They were all out of print long ago before I could get them. But just when I heard someone describe it to me, I'm like, that is the neatest thing ever. And the reason I say the far future is super boring, and that I'm going to get shot tomorrow, is because of this Peg. Love the guy, but when you get so far into the future that, like, you have, like, replicators.
It just all homogenizes, right?
Yeah, like you can't die, basically.
Yes, you can't die. You have clones of yourself. You have replicators. Things can go on for, like, you can have a journey that's 1,000 years, and it's just a blink of the eye because it doesn't matter, because you're so far in the future that time doesn't matter anymore. You can get space doesn't matter anymore. You can undo reality. It's like, it gets boring when you get that far in the future. And I'm talking like post Star Trek, post scarcity, thousands of years past that level of tech. So, yeah. And you've been busy with low fantasy and Warhammer? Yeah. Low fantasy's okay. I actually think that middle fantasy is the best type of fantasy genre. Most games don't do it right. Because to me, like, one of the problems with low fantasy is, and I'm running into, especially because once you've done a lot of historic stuff, why would I not go play a historic game instead? You know? Why wouldn't I just focus on something like Fire and Maneuver? Because it covers the same stuff, plus it's neat because it's realistic. Like, oh yeah, it's a dragon. Okay, but like, versus middle fantasy tends to say, hey, we have a little bit of magic stuff going on, so society's actually changed a bit. We actually have different stuff. For example, in my own fantasy setting, because healing spells are so ubiquitous, a lot of people who are trained as like healers to do non-magically are more rare than they are in our society. And that leads to situations where they're much more sought after as like elites and highly valued, which is more interesting, I think, because it's saying, hey, yeah, we have magical healing here. Also, there's not really many cripple people like people with like debilitating injuries, because you can just heal that. And, you know, another thing that you have is, because you have so much magic and stuff going on with there, things such as thermoses that keep your food hot and cold, that's just everywhere. Because, yeah, it's, you know, impressive to have the technology, but let's just say it takes a wizard, you know, a week to make that, and he makes this magical cup that can make everything hot or cold. Your home only needs 2 or 3 of those to be fine. And peasants were not so poor they couldn't afford minor luxuries. So, like, why wouldn't you have those things? And, like, refrigeration. Like, that's the thing in my setting, because it's just ice magic. Like, and so wizards pay their taxes to the city by spending their mana and magic power to recharge people's magic items, which the city, you know, does. Kind of like running utilities. So it's one of those things that it takes the idea and moves it into a way that lets me have cool stuff such as refrigeration and soda pop.
Ooh, I see.
Not all fairies got an interesting thing. The TG board over on 4chan has, you mean the other not porn board, has a term for generic steampunk, cogfop, because it's just foppish people wearing hats with gogs on them. You mean cogs, as opposed to something like Arcanum, which is actually creative. Yes, exactly. Arcanum is the best of all of the like Magipunk, steampunk settings I've ever seen. It's the best by far, and it's from a game it's from the third Fallout game that's kind of sucks, which is fascinating. Because Arcanum's really cool, but just oh boy, is it hard to play that game, just like physically, because it's so old. You ever hear about Arcanum, Garbled?
I have not.
Okay, so Arcanum, you probably should watch the Seth review on it. Seth Zatich does a great review on it, but there's a lot of other cool. If you really want to get into it, I can send you other people on it. The idea is it's a steampunk age fantasy setting, right? However,
Okay.
there's the ingrained settings like rivalry is between magic and technology. Because wizards constantly cast spells, their magic ends up ruining the way that the laws of reality work. Because to cast a fireball, you kind of need to make laws of reality a little bit slippery. And what happens is, as technology gets more advanced, because technology requires the laws of reality to work, things start breaking down around the wizards. Like trains, for example.
God.
If you cast a fireball, the train will just explode because it gets so intricate in the gears inside of it that it can't function. To the point where, like, if you like wizards and are banned from most major cities because dude, we have clock towers, we got like machines that are breathing for people. It doesn't work. In fact, the Dresden Files has a similar mechanic, and I think it's just great. It is so awesome, the idea that if the wizard hangs out near my stone golem, it's just gonna break. So they just shoot wizards on sight because they don't want to deal with them.
Do you have a license for that? Nope.
Exactly. It's awesome. And James says another thing. He says, it's actually pretty cool. Also, in Combat and Magic, one thing I found hard is finding ways to limit how much magic one person can use. Do you mean that from a story perspective or from a game perspective, James?
I think it's from...
Let me see what he said.
I want to say it's a story perspective, because isn't that...
Well, he said he's been playing a lot of games, so I'm not sure. Because if he's worried about mechanically from a game, a lot of games have balancing things for that, such as turn timers and such. And I think that's not a problem. But if you're talking from like a story perspective, what involve leveling up or involve genetics?
To be level up.
See, that's another thing. Now I'm even more confused.
No, hang on. He's saying that the limiting factors should be either level or, who the character is.
So, I see what he's saying. Like sorcerers, I think that, what are you talking about this again? The first step is, are we talking mechanics? Are we talking, like for a video game? Or are we talking stories? Because if you're talking purely mechanics, I think there should be no limits on stuff like that. You want to have, you should, like, outside of the game, of course. Like, you shouldn't add an arbitrary secondary limiter. If it says at level 3 the wizard gets fireballs, don't worry about limiting that, because the wizard's supposed to have the fireballs. If you're feeling like people are casting too many spells in your D&D game, for example, then the big problem you're running into is you're not playing the game the way the designers probably intended you to play it. So you're not playing the mechanics right. For stories, though, okay, so for stories, I want to cite Brandon Sanderson. I know a lot of people don't like that I cite him, but he's he's the best working guy for this field. You should look up his rules for magic. They're fantastic. Basically, it boils down to the only way that you can solve problems with magic in an interesting way is if you set up an interesting limitation on the magic or it's explained in a way. Harry Potter, in theory, has a good way of doing this. We have a limited list of spells that the kids know, and they can't pull ones out of their butt, typically, until, and we learn about that in the story. They go to class, they're taught Wingardium Leviosa, they go on, at the end of the adventure underground, oh look, we need to levitate something up here. Perfect, I know how to cast that spell. We need to learn how to fly a broom to catch the golden snitch for Quidditch. Oh, look, I need to know how to fly a broom to grab this key at the end of the dungeon. It's very great, the first Harry Potter, especially, in terms of giving you the tools that they need. Magic should just be used as a tool. Whatever the tool is that how does the character know how to use it, and how does he be able to solve problems with the tool? That's how you can have an interesting and good thing. In terms of upper power limits, that's just something on you and your setting. Gandalf technically can call down like a volcano on everybody. He's just that powerful, but he doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it would ruin the story. And what's the limiting factor? Gandalf's an angel. He is powerful enough to do that, but he's an angel. He's not supposed to interfere. So he's supposed to kind of just be there. That's why he goes hard when he fights the Balrog, and they throw him like fighting through gravity, reversing reality, going up the mountains and just shooting flames at each other. Because he looks at the Balrog and he's like, "Oh yeah, I can finally go hard against you." Kind of like how Superman's like, "Oh man, I don't have to pull my punches anymore because I'm just
Yeah,
killing
then he gives like
everybody."
what's this? World of Glass? Is it World of Paper? Like one of those speeches where it's like, yeah, I have to be like constantly really careful not to mess with anything, otherwise they're just gonna break.
Exactly.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Well, that's part of what makes him a great character too, is the fact that he's aware of his own power.
So and that's what I'm saying. So if you limited Superman's power, it would kind of ruin his character. So that's what you're talking about with the way that how much magic somebody can use. That's one of the things I would have as a limiting factor. This is also why it's super important to write your frickin' stories before you world build, James.
Yeah, James.
Yeah. Tell me what your story is going to be, and you can find out how much magic you need. Because here's the other thing. Here's a spoiler from writing stories. It's way easier to say, yeah, shut up, the bad guy can do that, than it is the hero can do that.
Well, yeah, because then there's like the initial badass factor of like, no. It's because the fact that they are the antagonist that they can do that.
Not just that, but we don't have the antagonist on the screen long enough for us to figure out all of his stuff. Like Darth Vader is a fantastic example. The dude can choke people across space and time. That's pretty awesome. Like, he can just choke dudes on other spaceships. But, like, who cares, that he can do that? He's evil. Our heroes now have to deal with the fact that he can do that. Like, that's a cool setup. Or, like, the fact that the Emperor can shoot lightning. This old dude can shoot lightning? I'm sorry, how? Like, that doesn't make sense. But, well, he's the Emperor. He can just do that. And now you have to deal with the fact that he can do it, which is a much more interesting story and scenario than trying to figure out how did the Emperor learn how to shoot lightning. That's a boring story because now I have to, waste time explaining that when I'm really here for the journey between Luke and his family.
That's like, you ever seen that, it's probably dated now, probably from more than a decade ago. You seen that Patton Oswalt bit about why like origin stories are like unnecessary a lot of the time?
No, I've not, but it's probably fantastic. We are live streaming. If you say, be polite, sir.
I may. You know what's funny is his bit about it is that he's talking about why Star Wars prequels he didn't feel like were necessary because he's like, I already love the story. It's already great. Why are you giving me like the backstory of a little kid Anakin? And he compared it to oh, you like Angelina Jolie? Well, here's John Voight's sack, But obviously that's an over the top example. But it's part of why, you got to be careful with stuff like that. If you try to over-explain stuff, it almost takes away from, the impact of what you're seeing in the story.
I do want to respond to a couple things. Dr. Senpai brings up a great point. He says it's a two-way street on that. Build the word first as the premise from length, speed, stories, events can happen during the story. While I agree with that in theory, you also should roughly know what type of story you want to tell. And then once you know roughly the story that you want to tell, from there you can plot out how the magic works in the setting. The more you deal with magic from the in-universe perspective, is the more you got to worry about explaining at the time. The same with all the other things. It doesn't matter what the political situation is in the kingdom if we're never in the kingdom dealing with that. That doesn't come up. You should probably figure out a good example is if we're telling a story like in The Thing, where we're stuck in the Arctic, and that's the whole story. The political situation in Norway doesn't matter. All that matters is the Norwegian base has already been destroyed. We got to figure out why they're shooting at this dog. To not give any spoilers for a great film.
As a writer, the number one thing that you should be doing is making sure you can have like Fortnite-esque crossovers in the future.
Yo, exactly. So true.
So true.
Like,
if I can't market this out to Fortnite, what even is the point?
Yeah, like I want SpongeBob.
That's exactly what they were thinking of when they made Hatsune Miku.
Exactly. They're like, how can I insert this into a battle royale game 25 years from now?
Yeah, I want Goku and SpongeBob to be able to default dance
to kill Godzilla.
Exactly. I want to make sure that both SpongeBob, Naruto, and Luffy fit into this setting perfectly.
Yeah, that's why they're doing that with Magic the Gathering, man. Wizards
Dude,
can do no
honestly,
wrong.
like SpongeBob was like already pretty much like may as well been canon like from day one in Magic. Like it fits right in. It fits like a glove.
Honestly, you're so true. So true. That's why Wizard is the best company and why they can do nothing wrong.
Most did nothing wrong. I do also want to respond to Alfarius earlier. He says he likes how in the Dresden Files it provides an explanation why pictures of fantastical stuff like Bigfoot is always blurry. Yeah, again, that's what this is when you want to write your story by setting because Jim Butcher, the guy who wrote the Dresden Files, he wanted to write a medieval fantasy story. But he was told that he wasn't smart enough to write a modern fantasy story. So he said, "All right, bet I'll prove you guys wrong." So he wanted to do that. That's why I said your story needs to come first. Because he realized that the story he wanted to tell had to take place in the modern day. After he figured out what his character is, he then had the backdoor into, okay, I want to tell a story in the modern day about a wizard who's dealing with the underground. Once he knew that was his story, from there he went back and was able to build the world around that story and try to figure out things such as why are pictures blurry? How did the supernatural's not shown? He was able to world build once he had the rough idea of the story he wanted to tell. It's much easier, much better to world build that way. If you just start world building in your own little corner, you're never going to write a story. You're just going to be stuck doing world builder's disease the whole time, where you're constantly just creating and adding to your setting without focusing on what's the story you're going to tell with it. I don't even say story. It could be other things your world could be used for too. Like if you're making a video game, then trying to figure out what your like Skyrim's a great example, or the Elder Scrolls. Trying to make like plot hooks for characters and like random artifacts. There's an incredible amount of stories in the Elder Scrolls that basically boil down to so and so was the coolest and most badass dude ever, and he had like 28 awesome maneuvers. By the way, he disappeared off the map, but nobody can find any of his books that have them. By the way, here's the location of the first book. Go find it. Like they're all like that for a reason because they want to give you those cool moves to play with. They want to give you cool masks. So why has nobody ever collected a Dragon Priest mask until you showed up? Well, because the player needs to collect them because you're the coolest guy ever. That's why. So yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's the way that Harry Potter has the dynamic of the the so-called chosen one and everything.
Why does he have to do it? Because Voldemort tried to kill him, it didn't work.
Because their like souls are intertwined. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Go watch all 8 movies and read all the books. But yeah, interesting. The concept of like the so-called chosen one and everything. That's been around forever though.
Oh yeah, that's been around and subverted by multiple different things. In fact, one of the things that I think does the chosen one type stories super interestingly is
Star Wars.
Well, Star Wars does it classically well, but there's a game. I don't want. You know what? Never mind. We're not going to talk about it. It'll get me canceled on this platform. Not Alfarius says, because Magic just screws up technology, it also adds good limitations to why he can't just do stuff like looking something up on the internet without someone's help or using a call phone. That's true.
Yeah. If you get too advanced, then you can just like get all of the answers handed to you on a simple plate.
Well, not just that, but it adds a limiter to him. Can't like the good thing about if you haven't read the Dresden Files, he can't read or like engage with technology. So anytime there's a problem that's technological in nature, he can't figure it out, which is really cool because now that adds in a limitation for the character. Yeah, he's a wizard. He can shoot fireballs and call down fairies from the non-reality to kill you, but he also doesn't know how to open a Microsoft document.
I
can't order a pizza.
I think like what's important in situations like that is you have to make sure like the guy is still vulnerable in some way. Exactly. He has these supernatural powers, but he's not a god. It's not superhuman. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's not perfect in every way. His limitations are stuff that you want to highlight that which make him more interesting. And Smitty Cheesy, thank you for showing up, buddy. And Dr. Senpai says, best part of Fantastic Beasts was when all the American cops started unloading on the big monster when it appeared. Yeah, that was a great scene. The Americans like, oh no, a monster! Get it, boys!
Well, I mean, it's simple.
Like, asking if had a license for being a monster.
If monsters didn't exist, would there necessitate the use of God's caliber? No. So that's why we use it.
Gotta put those monsters back where they belong.
That's right. Send them back. Send them all back. Am I right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
I'm kidding. Get them out of the neighborhood.
Send all the monsters back to the Fantastic Beast realm. I knew what you meant, Pops. Don't worry. Not All Farius says, also provides an excuse for using a revolver, even though he acknowledges that modern automatics are reliable. Yeah. I don't know if you guys know this, but in Dresden Files, he doesn't use an Uzi or like an AK because, the firing mechanism will probably break if I do it. So he uses basically a black powder revolver or like it's an old classic revolver, which fits the style. Yeah, which fits the style what the guy, the writer wants. He wants me to be a cowboy wizard essentially. He's dressed in a duster. He's got his brimmed hat. He's got a fireball in one hand and a revolver in the other. So to make that work, that's one of the reasons that guns would break down around him. Which I think is another fantastic way to, again, because your story is set up in a way, you want to tell it in a way, you then make the world fit the situation. And he's a gigger boomer because he hasn't been able to use anything with circuitry. Yeah, exactly. That's something. It's very funny because there's several situations in the Dresden Files books where Not All Fair says he's just a boomer. He's something like, what do you mean this Googling? Is that
do I look like I know what a JPEG is?
Well, it's funny because somebody's like, oh yeah. We're like one of the books. He's got to guard somebody on a porno set, and one of the guys like, "Oh yeah, how much porn do you watch?" He's like, "I don't have a computer. I can't watch porn." And like, "Oh, you're lying to me, boy. Everybody watches porn." It's like, I don't have a cell phone. I don't know what you're talking about.
I literally do not.
God bless him.
It is a front against God, and also I can't.
Exactly.
Excuse me, James. Funny enough, James says he's smart but dumb. Yeah, that's another issue with some of the writing stuff.
Book smart, straight dumb.
Becomes I'm not sure because sometimes it would feel like selectively the guy just doesn't know what the hell he's doing for the sake of the story.
Yeah. James, chapter 400. One of the problems he's having is making his characters flawed. For example, his main character is great at melee fighting, but only knows enough academically to barely function in modern society. So one of the ways that you work on that situation with that character specifically, point to him, is you should focus on him being function normally, like at a bar or something, because you could get through that with a 5th grade education, shopping and hanging out with people. But to highlight his lack of intelligence in terms of education, that's when you have him engaged with high society people. So the way you have that character, which I'd call like a brute like Conan, even though Conan's smart, the brutish barbarian character like that, the way you deal with him is you put him in situations where he can't kill things with a stick. That's how you show his weakness. You can't just walk up and beat the king to death. I mean, theoretically you could, right. But if he did that, there'd be other consequences. Or you have him fight an illusionist. You can't punch an illusionist. I'm sorry. Once you find the nerd, oh yeah, but good luck breaking out of Mysterio's mind control stuff without being smart enough to see through it or figure it out first. So you plan to have him interact with the rich girl? That's her I think she needs a bit more personality than a rich girl. That's all I can say on that so far. He's a survivalist who's good at fighting, can analyze people and their mannerisms. There's
you know what it is though? What's a great dynamic that we actually had in our classic book club on The Stars My Destination? The dynamic that Mr. Foyle had with was it Robin?
Is his name actually Mr. Foyle?
Billy Foyle, yeah.
Oh, well, sorry. When you say Mr. Foyle, it's just yes, I have Mr. Main Character and his best friend, Mr. Foyle.
No, the dynamic that he had with the girl Robin was because, hey, now I'm entering a new realm where I don't know what I'm doing, which is high class society. So he needed somebody to recruit to his, side to say all right, you actually guide me through this and make sure that I don't, blow my cover and make myself look like a fool and everything. It was a good device. With Robin. That was her name.
Funny. Dr. Senpai, thank you for the copy. We were talking about that game earlier today, actually. That was the first thing we brought up when we were talking about ways that Magic should interact with science in the setting and how one thing that does it fascinating. I was actually just telling Garbled here that he should look into that because he was talking about how he likes steampunk settings and the interesting way steampunk works.
Well, I feel like it's underutilized, and maybe that's just because I don't see it used very often, and that makes me annoyed.
Fair. One thing I do find is a lot of people that I'm trying to think how to put this without being mean. I see this a lot in comics, where people will tell me, like, who aren't avid readers, that they wish that this story existed in comics, such as, I want just a normal hero's tale, or I wish that we had, not to be political, but like people say, I wish we had more gay characters in comics. Well, they're all gay now. Like, you're clearly not reading comics if you don't think that's what's going on. You know, things like that. Like, you know, the thing when you say you wish you had more steampunk, all I see is steampunk. I mean, WoW is technically a steampunk setting.
It is?
Yeah.
Technically.
No!
Dude, go the goblins and the gnomes, dude. Dr. Senpai is going to top in chat and say yes, because the minute you bring up the goblins and the gnomes, they're wizards with technology, dude. In fact, they're probably past steampunk. You can get a mech as a mount in WoW. Heck, technically, Elder Scrolls has it too, but just the Dwemer are steampunk in Elder Scrolls. So yeah. Yeah, see, the new zone of the next patch is all goblin. You hear that, Garbled? You got to get into WoW. Go grab what's his face, Lamb. Him and his Korean boyfriend play the crap out of WoW. So you can join them. You can become part of their throuple, and you three can go through the goblin zone, learning all about different technologies and ways to go boom. Shout out to Lamb. He was on exactly one episode of the podcast, and he never returned.
He's great.
Great guy. Liberation of Undermine. That's going to be fun. I like goblin stuff. You know, WoW is one of those things where, like, I don't like playing the game, but I love learning about the game. Like, the stories they tell, listen to other people's tales, it's way more fun to me than actually playing it. I don't know, I just don't vibe with the mechanics. But to go back to what James was saying...
This is why I need to tell you more about Deadlock, so I can get you into the lore even though you don't play MOBAs.
Exactly. I like the lore. What is it? I think me and Devin were talking years ago. I don't know who that is. But me and a friend were talking years ago about how League of Legends had some awesome lore, but, like, I hate the game. I don't want to touch the game. And then we got Arcane, and I was completely vindicated in thinking it's going to be great. And then Season 2 came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, sometimes a character dies and they take the best writing of the show with them.
Yep.
That is true.
Precursor to player housing in that is they'll let you have rental apartments. Goblins, the money-addicted social engineers, who are also your landlords. What did they mean by this? You left out another thing.
So
they all
true.
also really like Pandaren food, and they have New York accents.
They have New York accents?
Goblins have New Yorker accents. It's very funny. They all talk like from the Northeast. It's hysterical. And we gain a Dez.
Yo.
There he is.
Welcome,
Here I
sir.
am.
Welcome. So, yes. But what did they mean by this? You see, Dr. Senpai, WoW was written at a different time. Back when you could be fun.
What did they?
What do you
Stop with the
think they meant by it?
The totally normal goblins.
Mm-hmm.
So, Vinny Slapshop, the goblin entrepreneur. Exactly. R.I.P. The last goblin NPC I had was ran a town called Come and Get Stabbed, and his name was Mayor Slurm. Very good. Very good.
Slurm.
Yeah, Slurm.
I feel like goblins need to have better representation sometimes, man.
Are you
Then
sure it wasn't Meyer?
Wait a minute, you're right, Pops. But why do you think you need better representation?
I feel like it's probably because of recency bias, because I was looking at some old Magic the Gathering cards, and I feel like they're often reduced to just but we say the funny thing, and then we die because we are the small little boy. Because
well, they're usually used as like cannon fodder, like just dummy. So
Kill Des. All right, there we go. Sorry, chat.
I mean, you killed Des.
So,
Oh, is
What?
it just too loud?
yeah,
I forgot.
Oh. I said stuff, so I was like, "Oh, I'm fine," and then you're just like immediately like, "Oh," I'm like, "What?"
The chat. We'll go back to my PowerPoint and see if there's something I need to show anybody. I think we covered all the major things. Oh, Esper. I want to talk about Esper's channel. We'll go back to the topic of the podcast real quick. D&D killing your channels. So, Esper the Bard has been doing this for, 15 years. Dude is like one of the oldest D&D channels. He finally hit 100,000 subs not too long ago. So I'm very happy for him. Great, very great guy. Very seems like a wholesome individual, if a bit quirky, and that's what we want in our D&D sphere. Though we want quirky, fun people.
Corked up white boy go to with the sauce.
We want a little personality.
Exactly. Very much so. So, Esper, and by the way, if Esper, if you hear this, you're welcome to come on the show. I'd love to talk to you. I have mad respect for you and been watching you for years. But he has been making D&D content for a while, and frequently his channel goes through life and death and rebirth, and he talks about it on his channel a lot, where he's like, hey, I think my channel's dead again, and I think a lot of time he makes the same content, or the content he makes just doesn't spark with his audience in a way that is going to get him the success he necessarily deserves. And I think that's one of the big problems he's running into. Sorry. And I think that's one of the big issues that he's kind of stuck with, is he's just never able to find that solid ground to stand on for his channel to make it become the mega star status. So he'll build a lot of momentum, and I wish I could help him more. And I really do. It's funny. A couple people actually told me they think Esper stole one of my videos because I made my History of Orcs video. It went viral. And then like a few weeks later, he made a History of Orcs video, and it had a lot of the similar talking points. I don't think he stole it from me because it's a history video. There's kind of only one way you could talk about the events that happened in history. You know, it's one of those things where he didn't bring up any new information, really, but there's not a whole lot of new information out there.
The history thing is pretty objective, so you can't really escape that.
Yeah. Especially since we're not like trained historians who just dug up a new artifact that says, look, behold.
Look, behold, I have found the lost relic of Atlantis.
Exactly. I haven't found Caesar's journals.
Prepare to be
exactly. I mean, it kind of depends. Like I don't know the specifics of this one. I don't know how clear cut it is. I mean, probably it's especially clear cut because the closer you're to modernity, it is like more or less one thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Des.
Look, I wanted to disagree, and then I remembered that I don't focus on history that is like within the last like 50 years, which is like, no, this kind of did happen.
So certain things like you can't tell me that the Battle of Manzikert didn't happen. You can
argue
the effects of that, but the actual this happened, and this happened are there.
Right,
and,
right.
Dr. Senpai has a great chat this time. Not that all his chats aren't great.
I don't know. I think they're kind of garbage most of the time. Let's see what
he's a channel member, Des. I love him more than you. Returning to the
so
topic,
true.
He always sees videos about how to be a better DM or how to build extra players. What to do when a player does why. I never see advice on how to be a good player, backstory, and role play. You know, it's interesting. I do have a video on being a good player, and it performed moderately well, and I completely agree with you. That's actually something that I think that, Guy over here with the How to Be a Great Game Master, something he should do. And he actually tried that almost here. The player advice work better together. That video, as you see, got 1.5 thousand views, which is more than a lot of his videos got, which is stuck on a couple hundred videos. So it's really one of those things where it's like, it's upsetting that, he's got, by the way, Guy has 238,000 views for those of you just joining us, subs for those just joining us. So for him to get views underneath my channel with 1,500 views, that's oof. You're paying to be here.
Oh, wow.
My license? I can show you my license. Here.
Wow.
I'll show you my
Hold on, let me get up. No, that's
Here's
probably
my license, Dr. Senpai. Here's what you're paying for. All the videos that made me no money. That's what you're paying for, my friend.
So true.
All right, so going back to Guy here. Boom. I feel bad because, like I said, I used to watch Guy back in the day, but it's, like I said, it's very clear that why his channel's dead here. And I think Esper's suffering from a similar problem. I didn't grab Esper's content. Let me see if I can go find Esper real quick so I can show y'all. But Esper's got a similar thing, but he's building it in reverse, luckily, for Esper. Because last few videos Esper's done have actually started to gain some traction, which is good. Which I think is good, would help people. Boom. Let's see if this is going to work. Yeah, no, that's the wrong thing. Generic PowerPoint. Okay, let's see here. Boom. I'm just getting the video set up on screen for chat. So they can see what we're looking at. And bang. Here we go. There's Esper's last few videos, chat, for us to look-a-roo at. If you want to see, his channel is doing much, much better than Guy's is. He's got half the subs of Guy from How to Be a Great Game Master. And look, are my videos attracting radicals? About 8,000 views. An open message to Jeremy Cropper, that's the lead designer of D&D, 10,000 views. Monster Melee, 4.3 thousand views. An open message to Professor DM, 30,000 views. Esper is very clearly, as you go back, he's got 7,000, 2,000, 8,000, then to 30,000. He's bumping up. He's climbing upwards on his channel analytics trend. If we go back, let's see how far back I can scroll. For a while, his videos were dying for a while back. Let's see, this is about when he took my ear. His videos are only getting a few thousand, like 1,000, 2,000, 2,000. See, he's like stuck there for a while there. And then it's interesting. He made 2 videos that really popped up: the Corporations and Dragons, and it's an 8-bit little thing he made. He's put a lot of work into this. Didn't do as well as he wanted to. And then he made the Orcs video just after mine, which is that's why people ask me, did he steal it from me? I don't think he did, but just it's interesting that he got 70K views. But going back to this, are my videos attracting radicals? 7,000 radicals. Yeah. What's really funny is the radicals in this video that people are accusing him of attracting are people like who play games that are not 5th edition D&D. That's the evil radicals. You see, you're attracting the OSR crowd. That's the old school Renaissance. Those are people who are just playing any game that's not D&D or anything that's not the newest edition of D&D. So if you play 4th edition, you're the radical that the person is talking about in his comment section here. It's fascinating. I wish I could get some of these people's heads. Like, if I simply want to play 3.5 or Pathfinder 1st edition, I'm suddenly an evil radical.
How could you?
I know. It's just...
Well, yeah. I mean, I always knew that. That was kind of obvious. There was a lot of signs.
Yeah, the signs were all there. Me being, a nice person and saying my Discord's open to everybody. That's evil radical behavior.
Oh, you're saying it's open to everyone, so that is like exactly. Peak radical behavior.
But also, if you do break the rules, we will have to ban you.
I'll just ban you if I feel like it, to be honest.
You get bullied a lot more than banned.
It depends. It depends on who catches you breaking the rules.
That's true. If Pad catches you, he'll kill you.
So true.
If one of us catches you, one of the more fun mods, they'll rename you something like Stinky Toe McGee and put you in jail. But yeah, and I think it's interesting that Guy has, like the Great Game Master channel, he's given up. And he said he wanted to make videos talking about Star Trek now, which, by the way, terrible time to start talking about Star Trek if you're worried about money. But if you just want to do it for fun, I don't see why you have to give up your old Great Game Master channel. Just leave it up and let it sit for a little bit. You don't have to upload content to it.
Is literally anything happening in Star Trek? Like, why would...
Oh, the series is dying at an alarming rate.
I feel like I've been hearing that for like the last 5 years. Like, I don't know. It's like there's something
on the way out since probably before that.
So the only development in Star Trek that I know has happened is Paramount merged with some other company, which merged with some company. There's a whole bunch of corporate mergers that happened. And because of the weird mergers that occurred, all of the Star Trek IP is now re-owned by one person. Because before it was like 4 people owned Star Trek. And they each owned a weird piece of Star Trek, yes.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So, like, because they're all back on one timeline now, that show Lower Decks came out, and they basically made a joke about how, like, the way the Klingons look in the new Star Trek is different because they didn't own the copyright to the old Klingons. They made a joke about the way the new Klingons look was the result of getting hit with an alternate reality beam, and one of the characters says, "Oh, that means it's from another much worse reality," implying that all the shows that they've been making on Paramount Plus and stuff are from another reality than the main timeline Star Trek stuff.
It's a hard red.
Yeah. AJB is completely correct. Star Trek is a duo. People love the Orville. Yeah, the Orville is doing gangbusters. It is making, like, Family Guy money for sometimes, which is crazy. Family Guy is a money printing machine, but the Orville is doing really well from what I've heard. Plus, people love it. So you can tell the desire for a Star Trek-like show is definitely there. And the Orville is fulfilling that, even though it's a bit more of a comedy bent. And I think that right there should show you, like, if you're a writer right now and you want to know a show to write a good Star Trek show, you're going to have basically a starving audience. They're so desperate to watching, a parody of the show and begging it to become good again.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty that feels pretty typical nowadays. It's like, oh, like people just go into like the parody because it's like Oscar. It's better than the like actual thing.
Yeah, that.
People care a lot about the product.
Yeah.
And like,
Well, I
because they
mean,
care so
I know
much-
why. It's just funny that like that's where we're at as like
Yeah, it is.
society almost.
It's one of those like ironies that you see when like the mainstream version of a thing goes out of fashion. It almost becomes like the people who care more about it, excuse me, aren't the showrunners or what have you. It's the people who are fans and take it into their own hands. Like, I feel like that happens in cycles. Like, we've seen that happen with a few properties.
Yeah.
Star Trek peaked when they made the joke about crime being higher than G in space, despite making up less than half the population. It's very true. Star Trek.
Is that an actual episode? I've only seen that
That's
in
in, I
the
believe it's
Steam
Deep
Tech
Space
video.
Nine. They make that.
Really? That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Deep
I
Space
kind of
Nine
want to
also
watch that
has
one episode
Quark.
solely for that episode.
Oh no, Quark is Quark is fascinating. He's definitely would get you canceled today. Let's just say he acts
What
very
about
much
all
like a
the
World of
Ferengi?
Warcraft goblin. He's that's another thing, by the way. The Ferengi on that show are fantastic. They have something called the rules of engagement, I believe is what
Yeah,
it
the
is.
rules of engagement. I love those fucking
Yeah,
things, man.
they're fantastic. Like one of them is never sell out your family unless it's worth a lot of money.
That's
Let me see if I can find a couple of them.
What's that? What's the like the resource that they really like? Is it just called like
Rules of acquisition. That's what it is.
no, but like
No, it's not
there's
the
one
rules of engagement. It's
specific
rules of
one.
acquisition. Let's see if I can find a couple of these great ones. The Ferengi. Oh, God, I hate how many ads pop up whenever you go to a wiki now. So
I know.
There's a lot. It is kind of interesting how
It's an
there is a
absurd amount,
lot.
yeah.
Yeah, small print leads to large risks. A contract is a contract, but only between Ferengi. Everybody else should have read it better. Never place friendship above profit.
That's great.
Yeah, exactly. War is good for business. Peace is good for business. Business is good for business. See, don't trust a man wearing a better suit than you or that you own. That's a great one. Free advice is seldom cheap. And,
I like that.
Every once in a while, declare peace. It confuses the hell out of your enemies.
Yeah, I love that one.
Never have sex with the boss's sister unless she pays you more than he currently does.
Yeah, what's wrong?
It's so good.
This is so shit. I love it.
It's just all this. No good deed goes unpunished. Some collect some bad deeds for good measure. Never be afraid to accidentally mislabel a product.
Oh my goodness.
I love the holy text for end caps. It is great. Let's see. Dr. Said probably something else. Binkarians make up less than 10% of the population in IG in space, but occupy more than 80% of IG in prisons. That is an actual thing for the episode.
Maybe they commit more crime.
Yeah.
Huh.
I have that burned in specifically because this is the tech clip that he uses, and I don't remember what video he even uses it in.
Forgot rule number 1 of the Ferengi rules: if no appropriate rule applies, make up one and sell it.
Excellent.
Did I love the Ferengi?
Inspired by the Ferengi, the rules of acquisition. I 100% believe that. The wild goblins feel just like you said, they're very clearly like an adjacent mind space to the Ferengi. They are great, and I'm upset that we don't get more things like the Ferengi out there. I think the Ferengi are just one of the funniest and most interesting races in all of Star Trek. 'Cause a lot of them are kind of just lame, but just it's great. Once you have their money, never give it back. And then James says a thing. Do you know there's an RPG called Cartel RPG? And you read there's enough gang games out there. Yeah, the only good gang game to ever exist was Saints Row 1, 2, half of 3, and San Andreas. That's it. Only good gang games ever made.
San
Does
Andreas.
that mean there was a Half-Life San Andreas?
No Payday 2. I'm surprised.
Payday 2 is not a gang game.
No, it's not really. It's
What do
much
you mean
more
by gang
about
game?
yeah.
Okay, I guess, yeah. Oh, I see what you mean.
Also, do you guys remember that point I made about goblins? I wish it were a little bit more serious.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Yeah, because I have some Magic the Gathering flavor text, and there's one from 2011. We are goblin kind, heirs to the mountain, empires of chieftains past. Rest is death to us, and arson is our call to war. And they reprinted the card, and they changed the flavor text, and it got so much worse, and I hate it.
What?
Let's hear it.
I have to. Oh, balls. Hold on.
I'm ready.
No! Did it? It moved my cursor, and now I hate myself.
Take your time. Brace yourself.
You do that. James, I did mention Saints Row 2.
I found it.
All right, go ahead.
It's the exact same card, and all it says is, it's time for the Smash Smash song. And then that's it. Like, I feel like you have to be able to toe that line, though, of like, you have to be able to understand when to be serious and when to be joking. And it's the exact same card, it's Goblin Chieftain. And the entire point of the original one is just like, maybe we should kind of respect these goblins. And the other one's just like, oh, guys, difficulty tweak.
I think is it like you're supposed to show it from their specific perspective and the way they would.
More than that, it's just a change of like how it's a change in the intelligence of goblins. It very much is leaning a lot less towards like the old school goblins slash like I mean old school, but I mean Boulder Gate as well kind of has this where like they're still like serious, even if they might be like not as smart as some of the other races. But then there's a lot more modern stuff where it's like they're just really stupid and they like killing.
Yeah, and that's just sort of like the beginning, middle, and end of it. Whereas, like, you have a lot more interesting angles. Like, well, what if the artificers, the goblin artificers? I love those because like they do it very well. Of like they are very stupid, but because they're goblins and they understand their way around technology, they just sort of oops into really fantastic designs, and it's just like. Well, it works because it's simultaneously treating them seriously, but also understanding their jokey nature. Like, one of the biggest cards that got played for a while is Goblin Welder, and I think there's an entire deck strategy just because what he would do was just turn your ashtray into the Mega Death Cannon at Mark 25 and just kill people too effectively. Yeah, and I feel like... To tie it back to the podcast topic, I feel like that's also what D&D needs to do a little bit better, is the tonal dissonance.
Yeah, I've
got horrible tonal listeners. Go ahead, Pops.
Yeah, to give you an example, it's almost like the issue we ran into with the way that Thor in the Marvel universe almost just became like total stooge. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, oh, it's people like it when he's funny. Let's just make him, what he became, which is just like a clown, a joke, kind of like
Goofball
totally
clown.
Yeah.
know what you mean. People
That started with
and they
the
took it over.
third one, but I hear it really ramped up in the fourth. I'm never watching
Oh,
that.
it ramped up when he got fat in the other movie.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. It was bad in 3. I guess it really amped up in Endgame a lot, and then
Oh
it
god,
was
yeah,
like
it did.
even bigger in 4.
Yeah,
I've heard 4 is like worse than even that one, but I could be wrong. I'm not watching it, but
I actually have watched it. I won't say where I got access to it, but I did watch it. It's not really worth watching.
well, I
Christian
know that. But is it like
Christian Bale
better?
really-
Is it like more silly with Thor than it is than Endgame where he's fat, or would you say the fat part is still like worse?
No, it's worse. It's definitely worse.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, dude.
I
don't-
wanted to double check.
But that's what I mean. Like they took one element of the character that they noticed that people liked, and they said, "Well, let's blow this out of proportion." And then next thing you know, that's all that we're getting as far as like the writing of the character goes. And then
Do you know what the term for that is? Thank you, Des. It is indeed Flanderization.
It is. They did the
Named
Flanders.
after Ned Flanders. Was his name Ned or Ted Flanders?
Ned.
Right?
Ned. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like no, that's what I almost want to say it's just sort of becoming like the everything game, but that's Magic. I don't think D&D has it anywhere near as bad. But I
D&D's
also
much
feel
worse.
like what
We'll talk about D&D's everything game in a second because
Yeah.
D&D's always been the everything game. Magic is the one who's late to the party. I feel like I
Yeah.
want to give Chad a little love for a second because Nalefarious mentioned a few minutes ago that the Ferengi were first hated in TNG when they were lame, and then DS9 fleshed them out. That just shows that you can fix any terrible writing with good writing. AJB has 2 good chats I want to cover where he says some people might not like the interesting stuff. They want to keep it comfortable. Yeah, that's he's jokingly responding to how people don't like interesting things, with the hobby, and I agree that's corporate mindset. And when Goblin Slayer is the best
nice
goblins
people
in
might
years,
be upset if goblins also have like a bit of teeth. It's a lot more comfortable if they're just the hee hee ha ha funny
that's one of the
guy.
things that made, like he said, AJB brought up Goblin Slayer. That's one of the reasons that show hit so hard is because goblins are horrible monsters. They should be dealt with as horrible monsters.
I feel like you can do both. It just depends on like the tone of the setting, but it's also like Goblin Slayer just did it well because it wasn't like a man. Those guys sure are misunderstood little rascals. They're like they are an infestation. If they get in your house, they will survive for like years unless you get an exterminator specifically for them. They are a problem. They need to be dead. And there wasn't total dissonance because they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, and then Dr. Senpai thankfully corrected his chat. He said his full chat should say Love and Thunder was a slapstick comedy with a Marvel pantsuit on. It really was. If they rebranded it as an Austin Powers spinoff, it may have gone over well. But it was to take Thor and do that to him. Oh, you know what? The Love and Thunder felt more like. You remember those parody movies from the year 2000s, like Disaster Movie and Epic Movie, and it felt more like one of those things.
Yeah, scary movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt more like one of those films, like the bad ones of those films, of course, not like Scary Movie 1 through 3, but so the worst versions of those films. That's what it felt like. Aimless, just trying to cram jokes in everywhere it can get, just not funny, and almost like it makes you feel sick watching some of it because you're like, why are you doing this to me?
The biggest
for you. Why else?
I would say the biggest crime they really committed was wasting Christian Bale.
Oh, because he was I forgot about that.
Idea.
That really bothered me because I was like, this is a guy who could have been like the next big bad villain in your new phase, and you're just like, nah, we're just gonna have him steal every scene that he's in and then get rid of him. In a movie that nobody even wants to watch. Like we all knew it was gonna be bad. You know?
Yeah.
Are you talking about Gore?
Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, let's keep on
Well,
top.
it's especially weird because, like, in the comics, they were really ramping up. I'm pretty sure around that time.
It was a little before that. He had
No,
already kind of
no.
made a name.
He'd been introduced for a while, but
Yeah.
but they started ramping up Null, who's connected to Gore because I believe it's his sword is Null or something like that.
It's
So they were ramping up that storyline around the same time, if I recall correctly.
I'd known about him for several years before that. Maybe it's just me, but yeah.
Well, Gore had been around, but Null, I think, might have been around the same time.
Okay.
Let's see. When did he first show
Maybe
up?
for next week when we have Astro on.
Yeah. That's true. Yes. Astro is our guy for
Comic Stops with all next week, boys. If you have any ideas, ping Astro on my server and tell him what you want him to
Never
talk
mind.
about.
Apparently, he came out in 2018, so I think that's like way after. So yeah, you're right.
It's like 3,
Everybody
4.
kill Dez with rocks.
Yep.
Sorry,
So
Des.
true.
All right. So from here, that pretty much covers the D&D YouTube channel situation that I wanted to talk about. So we have two options, chat. Do you guys want to call it here, or do you want to continue for another hour with another subject?
What's the chat think?
I think I can
Well, don't you want to talk about how D&D is like an everything subject?
We'll do that. We'll chat votes.
Oh, okay.
Next
Sorry.
time.
What do you mean in everything subject?
Yeah, well, I type.
What do you mean by fine, Garbled? You answer this question then. What do you mean by an everything subject?
Where something loses its sense of identity and instead just becomes, well, it's the thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I kind of get what
So,
you're.
like, the reason why I brought up Magic the Gathering is that it used to have, like, this very fantasy type of story. That's the entire point, is that, like, it's... Like, it would, like, mess around with, like, sometimes it'd be steampunk, sometimes it would be, like, a lot more gothic with Innistrad. It would have stuff like Phyrexia, where there's... What can best be described as, what if we took zombies and made it so that way they were also, like, werewolves, almost? And also they used oil as their main method of transporting their illness. And that was pretty neat. And now it's become like, hey guys, you want to have like SpongeBob?
All right, yeah, now I know what you mean.
Yeah, like sort of like Fortnite, where like Fortnite was supposed to be like, yeah, we're supposed to save the world, and then it just became this battle royale game where there's literally everything in it, and now it doesn't have a sense of identity because everything is Fortnite.
I'm sorry, I'm not paying attention. I'm looking at kid type.
Oh, where's it?
Look at the stream. Yeah, look at the stream.
There you go.
There you go. Now you can even vote on it.
We're gonna have time for me to talk about how much I hate the Omen paths.
Hell yeah! Get out there and vote, fellas.
Get out there and Pokemon go to the polls.
I was just gonna say that.
You were too slow to the punch, idiot.
The kitchen sink fantasy? Oh, okay. So it's worse than that, Nevis, because the kitchen sink fantasy, that's where you throw a lot of just topics and slop together and hope that what you get is good at the end. What Garbled is talking about here is like the step beyond that, where you basically go out to create slop from the get-go. Because he's like, we're going to take things that have no relation towards each other and just cram them together in a way because a corporate mandate said it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, there's no idea for creativity and desire to mix and match and make things good.
Oh yeah, that probably would actually have issues. I was just gonna say.
Hello?
Blowfish.
Hello, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Blowfish.
I'm doing pretty all right.
Blowfish, do you have any specific gripes with D&D YouTube that you want to bring up?
In regards to what?
In regards to D&D YouTube. In regards to your
D&D YouTube, do you have anything you want to bring up?
Talking about how a lot of them made videos recently saying D&D was YouTube was killing their channels, and how a couple of them were wrong, a couple of them were right. Like Man Shorts very clearly was killed because of just the algorithm changed and the audience's taste changed versus I think How to Be a Great Game Master is more killed due to laziness and him not adapting with the times. And then we talked about other channels who, like Esper, who keeps being killed and revived because he's changing his content and keeps catching up with the audience, and how someone like Professor Dungeon Master is not clickbaiting. He's just making videos that like have catchy topics. That type of stuff. So
I think it's a bit complicated because, sure, it's easy to be like, oh, the algorithm's screwing my channel, but a lot of it is, like you said, not catching up with the times, or people will catch a trend and then slinky on the trend and then fall back into obscurity when they can't keep the momentum up, right?
Yeah, that's a good way.
Broadly speaking, I think it's hard to blame YouTube as a whole for killing D&D channels. I think a lot of D&D channels, once they run their course with their niche hyper-focused interest or whatever gimmick their channel's going on, like who's the Matt guy, Squarehead, solid content, solid D&D advice. Mount Colville. Like, he's purely from like a DM perspective, right? Or he'll go into like the world building side, and then there's some Doom videos. It's easy to run out of your hyper fixation and then just coast on like release updates and drama updates, and then think like, oh, YouTube's killing my channel, when in reality, like you just fell off because it's not exploited, but explored your point of interest or your speciality so thoroughly that you can't get in that in depth with other topics, right?
There's not much more to say. Yeah, so I mean, you can't completely switch gears and commit to an autism regarding some totally different topic, because it's kind of not how people are. And it's difficult to make that transition, obviously. But yeah, I think Garwell said that before. He brought it up, and it was like, there's only so much you can say about a given topic before you kind of... Yeah.
Right. If I were to do something like that, it would be probably world building, not too far from
what Sid Guy should do next if he wants to move into talking about Star Trek instead. But I said you should talk about writing advice is what I would move your channel towards, or world building advice, things like that are tangentially related still. So your content will still transfer that direction, or just go with what the audience wants in a completely radical direction. Dr. Senpai earlier, what my channel member suggested, that he makes content about for players, like instead of how to be a great game master, how to be a great player, advice for how to role play better, how do you write a good backstory, not just one of high quality, how do you write a gameable backstory, things like that.
Yeah, there's even some subgenre stuff in the D&D world that I don't see explored very often, like how do I run D&D like a Diablo game, right? Like everybody wants to do the world building and the character stuff, but like how do I make it a crunchy, grindy loot fest that's actually fun to interact with?
Nevis brought up earlier, and he brought it up again now, that there's also a hyper saturation in the market. More people want to make TTRPG content than exists in the hobby, especially after the collapse that happened after the COVID boom stopped.
Right. Well, talking about your little fun autistic niche interest on the internet to make money is like one of the dreams, right?
Yeah.
So everybody and their dog wants to throw their head in.
That's why who was the guy you brought up before? He kind of like pointed out, he's like, yeah, my channel goes through cycles. It'll go up, it'll go down. That's almost like the most like well-adjusted way to look at it, kind of.
Esper's the one I brought up. And, I think it's, again, because he keeps trying to reinvent his content. He's always trying to do new, interesting things. Some of it works, some of it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes just the low effort stuff that works. Do you think Captain Sparkles is like, dang, man, I don't know if this Minecraft stuff's going to work? Exactly. And that's the unfortunate truth is of the world, man.
There's also like a meta angle with the YouTube game that most people don't consider, right? Like there's YouTube channels I looked into when I was getting into streaming that are dedicated to just playing the analytics game, understanding like when to release videos, when to go live, what kind of content thrives in certain structures. What's his name? Pirate Software. Yeah. Talks about this stuff on like the back end of Twitch all the time. And one of the things I just saw from him was the reason his shorts are doing so well, and a lot of people like start making shorts and fall off, is because they enable push notifications. Well, you get a notification, oh, your favorite creator, like this channel posted a short. Oh. Okay, I don't care about the short, so you ignore it, and then like 3 or 4 of those come up, and then that creator gets bumped to the bottom of the priority list because there's all these notifications going out and no traction. Whereas he turns that off every time, and then if it can organically get into the algorithm, you get a bunch more eyes on your stuff, you get a bunch more views, a bunch more like interaction, and it's not fucking your algorithm by having a bunch of ignored notifications, right? So I think there's a bunch of back-end YouTube stuff that a lot of not low tier, but low view count, low interaction to medium interaction people don't even bother looking into.
The notification thing is interesting. I never would have thought of that, but yeah, I know like uploading at a certain time of day and everything is like one of those.
Yeah, like having a consistent schedule like helps you out a lot.
Yeah, for sure. That way you can get the same audience back and you can get a consistency. The bump notification thing's brilliant to me. When he explained it, it like blew my mind because you're like metagaming the algorithm side of the platforms you're functioning on, right? So it's
Right.
like kid, when you go live, like it goes out to the Discord, to YouTube subs, like you just throwing it everywhere, right?
I don't think I can not send it to the YouTube subs. YouTube automatically sends it out like that. But I have it set up in the Discord for it just hits the Discord people, because people in Discord here most of them join either because you guys are my friends or because you're from the channel, usually the live stream stuff.
Right. Stand by.
So like, but I don't know if there's a way to upload this stream without it sending out a YouTube tag, because it's a stream. But like, I don't tell it to like do extra notifications. So again, maybe when I'm a bigger channel, I get access to that.
Interesting.
Pretend to. Well, yeah, I can't do it right now from the streamer mode. But as far as I know, no, like I can't change the way YouTube sends out notifications and stuff. From my end, anyway. Like what you said makes perfect sense. A lot of people also will talk about how the other thing is, people know when sometimes when you just make it slop content, because it works for some people, but not for all of them. Usually, you got to have a much more of a Zoomer audience for slop content to work.
That is true.
And I just want to show you all, because some of you guys are new here now. Look at
I'm curious
these
how much
thumbnails on the stream. These are guys' last 12 videos. Again, I don't want to keep bullying him. Other than the top right one, which is just, I'm leaving YouTube video, which got 128,000 views. I get more views than most of these videos do on my live stream. She's only got a couple hundred views on all these videos. And it's because, look at the thumbnails. It's the exact freaking same thumbnail, just the number updated. That's not going to draw me into your channel. If I see episode 41, I'm not going to actually be like, oh, yeah. This is
I've seen that sometimes it's meta to just, instead of being like, part 3 of my Let's Play, you call it something different every single time, because it's like, oh, part 3, then I'm missing part 1 and 2. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to watch this.
And what's even worse about this is he actually does that in these things. Let's just look at the top 3 things. It's the same thumbnail each time. These 3 faces, Mage Hunter Live Game Episode 3. But look down here. Actual Mage Hunter, game Episode 3, something to do with soap, ... It's got a real title here. The town's nice, blank. The knitter. Why don't you just call this episode, Mage Game, the knitter?
And just make sure you don't drink alcohol before you say that title, okay?
It's super important to not
forget about saying with the alcohol. If I say it, I'm done.
It's the simplest thing in the world as well. I mean, if you just like, these are all pre-recorded things that they're putting out, right? Yes. Like so why not pick out whatever notable event happens within the course of the video and say like, ooh, do I do this? Like it's one of those like, you make people want to look at it to see what happens, or to see you say the thing that you've announced happens. Yeah.
Well, like Garbled said, they are. I think what was it, Garbled or Kid? One of you guys actually pointed out. Yeah, he does that in the title because it's episode 1, and then he's like the knitter.
Yeah, but I think you got to throw that on the thumbnail too, right?
No, but that's what I mean. That's what I mean. He's already doing it. He's already done it. He just needs to like update the thumbnail. Like he's already like halfway there.
Yeah, you're so close.
Yeah.
What I've also seen some people do on their videos is that they have like the quote unquote best part of the video. They throw to that at the beginning, then they have like their little intro sequence, and then they get into it.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
a lot of
yeah,
people do
yeah,
that.
This
acts
is
as
the
a hook,
draw.
right?
That's the thing that really gets you in, where it's like this really crazy moment of like, oh, I think I have lethal. Please don't. Please, like, if I get this top deck, I can get it. And then like they go right as they're about to flip it over, and that's when they cut. It's like, no, I want to see it.
Yeah,
What do you mean you want to seduce the dragon? Cut to intro. Right. It's just
Yeah,
dumb shit like that.
Nevis brings up another good point in the channel chat. He said that people have clip channels. That's another thing, especially if you're doing stuff like this. He's got 200,000 subs and he pays an editor. You should have a clip channel or a clip show. Why not?
Oh, dude, clip channels are. It's this really weird, like, it's high level because, like, oh, well, like, it's high level content because you're doing all these streams and these, like, the best parts of the streams. But then it's low level, just like, yo, dude, what if I just took my stream and then, like, I cut it up like a cake and I served it again?
Hey, people like that, though. That's the thing.
people like it because it's a lot more digestible. When a lot of people will see 1 hour and they're like, I'm gonna kill myself if I try watching this.
Well, it's
Or
the difference
sometimes
between
like
digging around and finding highlights and the DSP
Yeah.
method of I'm going to take this 5-hour stream that nobody watched and turn it into 5 1-hour long uploads that are numbered 28 through fucking 32.
By the way, chat, please never be like DSP. I'll always say that if you bring up DSP.
Phil.
I don't think I've never seen his videos. I've only heard bad things.
The
but
only
I've
way you should
never-
watch DSP is through the lens of It's a Gundam.
Okay.
Or
So
the
true.
bumpers that Memology 101 uses for some of his clips.
Memology does have some
Thanks
pretty
for the money, dummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
snort.
Wait, is that from DSP?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Thanks for the money,
Yeah, but
dummy.
I watch a channel and for the outro, occasionally he'll use that as like
Memology.
when like
Memology
doing
is
like the it's not Memology who I'm talking about. Like a different channel I watch does it as like his outro when doing like Patreon.
I'm
Like,
not
thanks,
gambling. It's not gambling. What are you talking about?
No, and on top of the fact that besides these are named terribly, like I mentioned earlier, these are ugly as hell, just thumbnails.
Right.
And you can tell the best two thumbnails are this one and this one. What has the highest views? This one and this one. I don't think it's because his GM advice video here with 3 games to add to your next game's adventure, which is a terrible title, is so good that's what I need here. Because 3 Kick-Ass Adventures is a better title than that.
The end of How to Be a Great GM is the 4th last uploaded video. Okay, buddy.
Yeah.
There's something almost poetic about that.
It really, and then look at it. It goes 124,000 views. People very clearly care about your channel. They're very clearly invested in like, oh, what's going on? Why is Guy leaving? But then it goes back
the
to
title, the thumbnail, and the intro all have to be hooks. Right?
Yeah.
You have to like hook people's ADHD-addled TikTok brains.
That's why at the beginning of my videos now, whenever I talk about something, I say, today we're going to talk about the history of orcs and fantasy. And I'll tell you how to have a special, secret world building thing for my setting at the end. Yeah, I like doing the setting stuff, but since I started telling people basically like, oh, at the end it gets really good, they stick around much longer. I don't know why they do, but it's like well, I could
You
just
don't
be
have to
lying,
do like
but
that.
it's a psychological thing.
But stay tuned, children, to find out how to use bugbears at your newest D&D game.
Exactly.
Find out how to support Freddy Fazbear as he punches
exactly, I've been
from the
waiting
digital circus.
Shut up. I hate you for saying those words.
He's more sus than a character from Among Us. He
Oh
tried
my
to sleep
goodness.
with an owl bear.
Shut the hell up.
Stop insulting Clipcraft's channel. He needs Reddit to make more content for him.
He's trying, damn it.
We're giving him publicity. God bless him.
Oh, so
You're
Nevis
giving him
also says
chlamydia?
there are several streamers who only watches through clips. Oh yeah, that's a very common thing. I don't have enough time to watch, most these long form guys. Clips are great.
Yeah, I'm just never gonna watch Pirate Software. But Thor's shorts are immaculate little gems of like humor, super useful information, funny obscure facts about working in the industry, back end like streamer and content creation tips. Like it's a gold mine. But I don't have the 4 or 5 hours to watch his daily streams.
Not Ferris says he actually watched DSP in high school. It's okay, not Ferris. We forgive you.
Nobody's nerfing, brother.
Kid
It's
will.
okay.
I'm not going to because I don't know who Darkseid. I don't know what that means.
No, respect to you for confessing that. I'm sure you've grown and evolved, and now you know better. So, I mean,
He watches EFAP now, but
Okay, so do from a 2 to a 4. We need you at about an 8, brother. We'll get you there. Don't worry.
he's watching our content.
Hey, yeah, that's right. You're rocking it up to a 9. Well done. Now all you have to
By
do
the
is
way,
tell
Wolf,
your
you know
6
who
closest
Novel
friends
Ferris
and
is?
your friends there. I do.
Okay.
I
You
do.
know him.
Yes.
He's in the server.
Yes.
Like, I know you guys because I started watching EFAP, and it's a very memorable time in my life that I understand that like they're kind of cringe now, but like I have fond memories of that. Like it's one of the things that like me and my brother bought over for a while was just like, hey, do you want to see like these guys talk about how stupid the next movie is?
Yeah,
And it was
just
great.
became, a bunch of people. I'm gonna be honest. Once Wolf left, it got real bad.
Yeah. I watch the highlights channel every
Well,
once in
Wolf
a while.
runs that channel.
Yeah. I'll watch him stream games just to hear him like ramble about shit because I
Yeah.
love my beloved furry gay boy. But
You're
I
what?
can't do the main line. You
Wolf is
heard
my
me.
favorite furry.
Something you want to talk about, man? Like I don't.
Dishonored Wolf is
He's
great, man. I would love to hang out with him.
Dishonored Wolf is a semi-furry who is bisexual.
Yeah, no,
I don't know what-
I know who Dishonored Wolf is. I remember he had one channel that he had for a while and then he just left the internet. I remember that one. It was really nice. I can't remember the name of it though.
I
Is that
think
the one
that's
with the long form reviews on it.
I think that's how I first discovered Moeller too. Was I saw Wolf's video on Black Panther, and then I tried to look it up like a year later, and I was like, "This doesn't exist anymore." And I just found Moeller.
Yeah, he had a bit of a crash out and just bailed from the internet for whatever reason.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
can't
don't blame
even
him.
talk
Like,
about
this
why,
place is
but
a hellhole.
he had Wolf's old Discord was a horrible place. Like
No.
illegal stuff happened there.
Oh,
Respect.
And Wolf didn't like.
I'd absolutely
Wolf didn't
absolutely want to
police it,
dip
that's
after
why.
some shit like that. Like between that and the abuse he got on EFAP, oh shit.
Yeah.
After the abuse from shit like that, and then the open target on his chest from being on EFAP, I don't blame him for leaving it all.
I would have fled. I remember being there for a little bit. I remember learning what happened a little after the fact, and I remember thinking, "Dang, this was horrible." Like, I believe Discord itself shut down his server.
Kid, are we gonna have a conversation after this?
I mean, we could, but like, I didn't get involved in any of the stuff. I just remember his mods like Panda and stuff. Finding out just after the fact some of the things that happened.
That's tragic.
Oh yeah, it let's just say
anyway. How about
do I
the
put this
Rams?
in a way that will be interesting? The similar activity is currently not being prosecuted in England.
I
Oh no!
Wow.
And we're British. Got it.
Wow.
I can't believe they put sugar in their tea.
Honestly, yeah, that's why you got to be careful if you're ever going to have a server, because Cord is kind of a hotbed for people like that.
The hotbed for people who want to do terrible things and get away with it, and especially with your moderators. Like you got to make sure that when you pick your moderators for your server, that you don't give them more power than you have, because that's what Wolf did. Is he made one of the other moderators? He gave them basically backdoor access to the whole server. The only person who's got close enough to that is Pag, and Pag doesn't have the ability to alter some of the core aspects of the server. Not that I wouldn't trust Pag, or I wouldn't trust any of my mods. I would trust all my mods, but I've seen enough things blow up where somebody flips, somebody changes, or what if the mod got hacked? I can't put all that responsibility on them.
Yeah, and you know better than to give your say you hosted the server on a third Discord that you don't log into, just to have the admin off your account and then give that password to somebody else, right? Like stuff like that's just it breeds disaster.
It just leads to so many problems.
Mm-hmm.
And let what happened to Wolf. And also, if you're not there all the time, that's why Mauler doesn't have a Reddit. He's very smart. There is a Mauler subreddit, but Mauler doesn't own it. It's not official because nothing that happens there is his own. He doesn't have time to patrol it.
Right. I mean, he
That's
doesn't
kinda what
control his own Discord, right?
I was gonna
he's
say,
not
like,
like,
that was
He's not engaged in it. Really.
He does.
No.
Mueller
he
picked all the
engages
mods
it every
though.
once in a while.
Well, don't
He
forget,
just-
Mueller
he-
picked those mods about a decade ago, so he's vetted them long enough to know they're not going to ruin his server.
Yeah, back when old boy was on Twitch, like
Yeah,
most of his
mods may
big
be,
head honcho nods have known him for almost a decade.
yeah. And again, see, the thing is, the problem is there's a specific group of mods on that server who've changed some of the things over the years. A lot of us remember back then certain people were even given almost moderator roles, who are now been banned because of they said the wrong things on that server. Multiple people who were basically almost moderators are banned now. Just shows you how much the thing has changed.
Well, it's inevitable with any sort of closed. Well, I say closed, but the insulated internet community, right?
Well, what ended up happening is a lot of Mauler's original mods retired, and the new people they brought in changed. Mauler's Reddit's a cesspit that hates the Discord. They rightfully hate the Discord. Everybody should hate. For the record, if you're a big enough YouTuber and you don't hate your own Discord, you're doing something wrong. Even if it's ironically. But I cannot think that the Reddit is a better, more wholesome place. I've seen the things posted there; they are wild.
Just the other day, you were saying it's like the 6th time you've thought about destroying your Discord.
Exactly.
Over some shit we were getting into.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too.
That just means it's working.
Exactly.
It's not even my server, and I hate it.
Exactly.
You hate everyone.
That's not true.
You hate everyone in every server. Okay, Pops. That's not special. Okay.
That's not true. Pops tolerates both me and Grandpa.
Okay. You know what? I'll
Yes.
asterisk. He tolerates 2 people. He doesn't like them. He tolerates them.
I think he tolerates like 4, but I'm not sure who the other 2 are. I feel like Tio's somewhere between hate and tolerate.
Oh
I
my
feel like
God,
Tio
no.
is too wholesome to be hate. Like that is solid hate because Tio's too upbeat for Pops.
Tio
Like
my
among
beloved.
other issues.
Yeah, Tio's one of those guys that like you see that meme of the dude from like Freaks and Geeks where he's like looking across the table with like the scowl on his face.
Yeah.
100% of people voted. The poll's over, by the way. I'm sorry. 100% of people said dance monkey dance. So we'll continue on for a little bit longer, boys.
All right, yeah. I was going to ask if we had a topic of conversation or we were just going to talk about the history of Mauler Core.
Nobody gave us a topic here, unfortunately. They all failed
apologize.
the objective
About, like,
of
the
voting and
everything.
giving a topic. So thank you
I
all
guess
for
apologize
once again
for having
disappointing Dad.
So
The
we're going to have
coldest YouTube D&D take, but I've been so disconnected from D&D YouTube over the past like 3 years.
Oh.
After Colville's giant Kickstarter blew up, and he started going into the mindset of people actually want to hear what I have to say, which was not the case. It kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, and I noticed a similar pattern in most every other D&D YouTuber. So I just kind of fell off.
Speaking of that specifically, I do want to insult Clover a little bit. You think that's bad? His Twitch streams, or he was completely, like.
Oh, I know he went like totally mask off on his streams.
Yeah, to the point
Like,
where
he just
people like
Yeah.
us aren't allowed to play his game. Is something he mentioned.
Who went mask off?
really.
Matt Colville, even Rags
Oh.
has even brought this up before. How
Oh,
Matt
yeah,
Colville
yeah,
said
that's
Republicans and right wing people shouldn't be allowed to play the game.
Yeah, this is the guy
Oh,
that you
yeah,
had the
that.
beef with. What's his face?
This
Vance,
is
right?
not the guy who had the beef with JD
That's-
Vance. That was
okay.
the creator of Pathfinder. This is
Okay.
another guy. This guy is just a YouTuber essentially.
Oh, this is a YouTuber. Okay.
If you look at all his videos that are older than like 3 years, all of his advice is solid. He gives really good world building advice. He's a really good DM if you watch like the first 2 game streams he had.
Yeah.
But as soon as he gets that political brainworm in him and starts getting his feathers in a ruffle,
Politics
he
ruins
becomes
everything.
insufferable real quick. Yeah, right.
Well, I'm
Worse.
at the same point. I mentioned him earlier. I was watching XP Level 3's latest video today where he was talking about how, because he just was reviewing comments. He's like, look, dude, I can make this video reviewing comments and get 10 times the views if I did like a high effort video and I have a sponsor. Why wouldn't I make these low effort videos if they're getting the views? He was just reviewing his comments and he was trying to make fun of people for complaining that the new D&D thing is woke. And it was bothering the shit out of me because I'm watching this video. He's like, how you laugh? How do you think it's woke? you guys are idiots. You should get out of here. And I get, like, he's pretty liberal, and his fans and his family who run the channel with him are liberal. And, like, I don't mind that, but it's like you don't understand the criticism they have here. That, like, they're including all this, like, political stuff in the hobby unnecessarily. It's like,
well, as soon as someone has a critique that, like, they say the word woke or progressive or any sort of, like, left-leaning political thing in a negative context, like, oh, I don't like that gender studies are involved in this, or identity politics. It's like as soon as anyone on the left hears that, their brain turns off.
It's done. You're done. They're not
But
listening.
You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
That's kind of my issue that I have with anyone who, like, because especially, in the States specifically, everything is so polarized that it's like if you declare yourself to be on one side, it's either you or somebody who doesn't like you is going to immediately be, like, overly righteous in yourself. And it's almost like you need somebody to just kind of, like, give you a smack in the face and be like, hey, listen, you're being cringe. Like,
especially in my videos, I have no political bias at all in them. Like, I try to, even the videos that are, like, somewhat political, like when I guess political, when Warhammer wanted to make those Custodes girls, I think this is
which was very dumb because it breaks established lore.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about it from a lore breaking perspective and how it doesn't fit the setting that they designed. I didn't want to get into the political side of it because I think I hide my politics very well. If you're in this Discord, you know that I'm moderately right wing, and
no, you hide it as well as Obi-Wan hid Leia in that rebel base under his trench coat.
Oh,
exactly. But, like, I also don't think that you want to hear that. You don't want to get rammed down your throat all the time. And not a
it's not what we're here.
Pathfinder's creators being paused. They are so left wing that they created. I'm going to pull up the picture of their logo. You guys aren't going to believe this. They
what logo are you pulling up?
I'm pulling up Pathfinder's logo.
Oh, Pathfinder.
No.
Now let's look at the Saudi Arabian logo.
So Paizo has something called the United Paizo Workers Party.
No way.
No way.
No.
It's unironically a workers' Soviet. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, you are so not ready for this. Let me get.
I'm excited now. You can't took my balls like this, kid. I'm excited now.
Yeah, here you go. Let's see.
If I wasn't currently going 180 miles an hour around Atlanta in an Xfinity car, shit, I'd snap my head.
Nice and big on screen. This is the official logo they have. Their announcement for why you should join is called "Don't Split the Party."
Holy crap!
These guys.
No way.
And this kid just what it looks like when you lose the fucking plot.
Yeah. I'm not logging into X.
No.
This is something else. Just so you know how paused they are, one of the great things they did was this. They decided to go meet with Biden about the unfair treatment of TTRPG workers. What are you talking about?
What?
So look at, like, if you look at it, it's like they work for Paizo. Paizo's got a staff of like 50 people. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
They sit around and make guidelines for adults to make
believe
about wizards and fucking goblins.
Don't
tell me I'm mistreated. Your life is great.
I like how everyone doesn't have a mask on except Kamala. That's very funny.
She's the
only one that has it on. Like, why is the 80-year-old like not wearing it? Biden, who's like about to fall over dead.
You underestimate his aura.
Apparently.
A man cannot be infected by your mere mortal pathogens.
He is immortal. He is timeless.
Through the sense of underage children, he will remain timeless.
Thank you, Google. So there's two options here.
I'm being honest, I didn't even realize that you survived those years.
All right, so chat, let's see, which one do we trust more? Do we trust Google's AI or Zippia.com? So Google's AI says, based on their current rating, Paizo has anywhere between 1 and 50 employees. And according to Zippia, which I don't know who Zippia 50. Is. Yeah, Zippia
a couple.
says that they have 125 employees. And only 17% of them are women. So they need to do better, Senator.
They got shit to work on.
Yeah. Here we go.
Do better, Senator.
Yeah, I had to rig that for a second there.
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the official thing. The 30 people, this was 4 years ago now, that about 30 odd of them unionized. So it's a quarter of their company just unionized. And they still are like, oh, we're being mistreated. How? How can you be this mistreated if you've suddenly unionized and every single time they post something, it's, we got this concession from management. You are management.
You fucking dumbasses.
Exactly. What's that land will during the White House? I don't know, Dr. Senpai. But I do know that I think it's wind turbines are killing whales, which is fascinating. I didn't know that was a real thing.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely true, and that's been going on for probably close to almost 4 years now. Yeah.
You said killing whales?
Yeah. So what's going on with that?
They're offshore.
I can tell you theoretically. I think the thing behind it is, so whales, obviously, they echolocate essentially with their sonar. So they're putting in these massive wind turbines and other mechanical devices in the water. And so these whales are like, basically, they don't know where they're at. They're bouncing off of these things and bonking their heads. And we had something like, I think like 14 whales washed up on the coasts of like New York and New Jersey.
So it was the
back in like
Northeast
2020.
I think it was between 2000 and 2020, Pops, was it? They had 3 whales in total wash up there. And then in 2021, they put up wind turbines. And they've had 28 since then.
Are you telling me wind turbines are giving whales packet loss?
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah. I couldn't tell you the exact.
Yeah, they're confusing the whales, and the whales just like, I gotta beach myself immediately. And you remember, so think about why it's happening. It's because they're doing a whale call to like any hot females in the area, and the wind turbines just responding with yes. So like, I need to go that way immediately. I need some of that lovely whale lady.
Yeah,
and they're just
the communication
themselves trying to get there. They're like, my girlfriend's over here. I will find her.
We did.
She is around here somewhere. I am sure of it.
It's the Futurama Lucy Liu shit.
This is that's an apt metaphor for VTubers. Really,
that's more like a untouchable escort. It's like a stripper you take to dinner, but then she ignores you.
Oh my goodness!
For the 30 other dudes who paid her to be there.
Also true, bestie.
Yes.
Yes, queen.
Anyway, fuck whales.
Hey, come on.
Only one mammal is allowed to exist on this planet.
Whales inspired some of the greatest pieces of
the population up. Okay, how else are we supposed to get the population up?
What are you talking about, this?
Look, y'all say human supremacy and you mean aliens. I mean everything.
I mean, all right.
If you ain't food, fuck off. My planet.
Anyway, yeah. So just if you're wondering how left wing the RPG people are, you think Wizards is bad. Remember, Paizo is an official communist union.
And Paizo's
I
the
can't find
guys who broke off from Wizards.
I remember they did post a statement in solidarity with communists somewhere. And I know they posted something positive about Ukraine. And I'm sitting there reading out, like, why are you doing this? Like, let's just assume that you need to unionize, just for whatever reason. You're making tabletop games. Why is every single post you're making not about how you want to improve tabletop games? Why are we talking about Ukraine here? I don't care. Unless you're standing in solidarity with Ukrainians affected by it, which, sure, you can do that. There's probably some great freelancers in Ukraine or in Russia who've been affected by the war. That's completely fine. I've seen plenty of people talking about that. If you want to say, hey, our creator, Jorgen Zabowski over here, we need to get him out of Ukraine because he's a freelancer, he's worked with us for years. He makes all of our kobold art and we love him. And it's like, oh yeah, I can see that. But no, there's like, we stand with Ukraine and we're going to donate to Ukraine. I'm like, you're a union for like D&D stuff. Like, why are you doing this?
Why?
Well, like,
why?
Why? And like, meeting with
I
Biden,
genuinely don't understand that. That's so freaking weird.
The funniest thing to me. Like, we're meeting with Biden to bring.
It's more that everything's a platform shit.
Yeah, it's bring our case to the White House.
That's true.
Case? Like, case. Like the Lisa Simpson people looking down. Like, why? Like, I don't get it. What is so horrible that you need Biden to interfere immediately to help you guys with? What?
Look, the guy who drew our goblins and gave them lemon-shaped heads was uncomfortable at a meeting 6 years ago. This must be amended immediately.
Exactly.
Dude, that also happened with Wizards, and that really bugs me.
Did it?
Fired all their employees, and they didn't even unionize.
No. Do you remember? Do you know what happened with Kaladesh? Because they paid advisors to be like, hey, we want to make sure that there's nothing problematic with our game. So they took one of the most beloved planes that they had, which was Kaladesh, because the entire point of it was like a kind of steampunk, kind of like rebellion sort of plane. And they said, no, Kaladesh is problematic because we said it's problematic. So
Dark Sun's problematic because it's everything sucks in Dark Sun.
Well, if I'm being fair, I'll give him Dark Sun. Yeah, it is problematic, but that's kind of part of the hook.
Yeah, that's fair, but come on, man.
Yes, it is problematic, but it ain't broke.
But they
well, it's because they nerfed,
which blows my
they
mind.
nerfed the fuck out of Strahd.
Yeah, true, but still, just
right. I'm an ageless, undying Lord of Evil vampire, but I'm not going to use a slur. Because
that's also where it's like the ludonarrative distance of like, guys, I'd really rude if I said a slur, and I know that I mean like I'm supposed to be like the most evil guy known to mankind, but like that's a bit far from me, guys.
I haven't had a pulse in 5,000 years, but there's no excuse for the N-word.
That's one of those issues that I totally take a lot of issue when it comes to people like injecting modern politics into like literally any setting that isn't like kind of modern. It makes no sense that you're
like, yeah, if you say that everything is political, then nothing is political, idiot. If that's true, why are you not currently fighting out for the rights of Ukrainians right now? Why are you spending your time in a Discord online? I think that you should, reevaluate your life choices and possibly, I don't know, go out in the front lines and get some balls.
Maybe just touch grass.
I was going to say something else, but then I remembered we are on YouTube, and I can't say that, so I decided to not.
I appreciate you not trying to get us more demonetized than Blowfish's endless swears like a sailor. But anyway, so chat's got some great stuff here. First, Dr. Senpai says, Kaladesh is problematic because it encourages independent thought. So true, Wimpy. And then AJB says, Dark Sun is about corporate greed, therefore it makes them look bad, so they don't want to put it out. That is very much true.
Big, true, and real.
Hates the word problematic. I find that problematic that you hate problematic, not Alfarius. And Dr. Senpai says, combat wheelchair. Oh. God,
I could have a 3-hour podcast just about the combat wheelchair.
Absolutely.
I was gonna mention it earlier. But I'm like, no, I'm not.
That's the actual thing.
Let's not get into the combat wheelchair. Because that is an entire episode, and I genuinely want to have that episode and be there for it.
Canceled. That my takes on the stupid combat wheelchair.
I mean,
hey, brother in Christ, half the things you've said will get you canceled. Like
you let me on.
Even know.
It's Jover.
You let me on. What are you thinking?
Still, here's the thing. I'm talking in generics, or I'm talking to peers and stuff. Ham, Pops, are you still messed up?
No. Did you just see that? Yes. I had to finagle that a bit. Yeah, I had to jump into another server and join their VC to get out of this one and then come back. I should be good now.
Excellent.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute myself. Sometimes it just, I don't know why. Touchscreen's messed up.
The Discord app kind of sucks.
Dr. Senpai, you're welcome to join the podcast for the episode of the combat wheelchair. I know you and trust you.
Is he in the server?
He is.
Oh.
The combat wheelchair is so the difference between criticizing a lot of the people I have, they're peers. I can criticize other YouTubers, or we can laugh at Paizo because they're technically it's punching up, if you will, in the industry. Versus the combat wheelchair was designed by somebody who's legitimately crippled, and because of that, any critiques of the combat wheelchair, people will take it as me critiquing them as a person, even though I'm going to be critiquing them as a person because the things they said are like worth critiquing, because if they're throwing it as if their personal hangups are how all people who are disabled talk and think. So it will necessarily lead to me to being, thrown at people throw rocks at me and hate me. And I don't think I'm big enough for that yet. And I also don't think it's one of those things where it's a fight I want to have yet.
I'm in the server. Oh my goodness, he just joined. No way.
No, he's been part of the server. He's got to be, he's still a surf right now. It's because your accounts aren't linked. You don't have the special role for being a channel member, Dr. Senpai.
He says I'm in the server, but I don't see anyone there. I don't think he sees,
Post something in the one of the chats that you got, Senpai.
Someone DM me his username in the server, and I'll get him in here.
Yeah, is he in the waiting room?
Who is?
That's what I'm wondering.
No,
I don't
he's
think
not.
he's. I haven't seen anyone in the waiting room. So
I know
just
his
don't-
actual Discord. He's a friend in real life. He's just
Oh,
not.
okay.
He's a surf right
okay.
now. Yeah. See, I'll
Tragic.
find him and promote him because I didn't realize that it didn't link your YouTube channel because that, or it should have automatically promoted you from being a channel member.
You should have a real life friend role that's just called nepotism.
Oh, you joke, but I have thought about it.
That was not a joke. It may have been humorous, but it was not a joke.
Well, that's
Nepotism
kind of
makes
what
the world
ended up
go round,
happening
brother.
with my dad. He's got his own special role.
Wait, your dad's in here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dad role.
His dad doesn't do anything, but he's in
The
here.
illustrious father of Kid. The
Yeah,
Grand
it's-
King of Candor.
What was
Whoa.
it? He's got a special role now, or did you rename? Something happened.
Imperador. Yeah, he's Imperador of Candor.
Yeah, Imperator.
Yeah, that was him. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead and post. Let's see. Where I think he's labeled his account's probably labeled offline right now. That's one of the things.
Yeah,
Count
Imperator.
Wilfred Brimley? Is that what you said? That's what I heard. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh.
Went home and I kicked my dog. I learned my dog's been dead for 6 years.
Shut
hell did I hit?
up.
Hey,
There you go, buddy. Let me get you your special role.
I'm so
You
glad
should
the
be
chat.
having this role. Now you should see the behind the scenes part of the server.
I'm not sure he can
Don't
see
mention the
server.
thing that we're not supposed
See
to
it
talk
now.
about the
Yeah.
back end. All you need to know is that you're not supposed to mention it. That's all you need to know.
The mod feat submissions?
No, Fight Club.
You just
Oh
had to
wait,
say it. You just had to, didn't you?
Yeah.
Look, it's not. Look, I already brought Pops. I'm going to win.
Oh, it's him. Oh, okay.
That's what the cruise with him.
Yeah, I didn't know it was him. I saw
Dr.
Dr. Senpai. I'm like, I don't know who this Dr. Senpai guy
Okay.
is. But
No, the
like,
correct
that's
answer is,
God.
oh, it's him.
So
Dr. Senpai
true.
is a lot of French. The Princes of Candor. Not all fairies. You are one of the Princes of Candor. Don't you worry. I should probably rename that instead of Nobles Princes of Candor. It'll be you, Dr. Senpai, and Blackaroonie are the three princes. Because you guys have given me the most money. Therefore, you're my best
Good
friend.
old Ernie.
Mhm.
Oh, that's not nepotism. What's it called when you can buy rank? Oh, commission. That's right.
Hey, I don't mind selling. I will sell out to all of my
Hey,
friends.
guy give
I'll sell
Legacy
power
it
all
too.
day if it buys me
okay?
pizza.
Legacy has to get it too.
Yes, Legacy. You know what? Legacy is worthy of the prince. It's Legacy's birthday, by the way, chat. Make sure we bully Legacy.
Just
Yeah,
gonna say
happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.
He turned
Happy
62.
gonna say that.
Legacy. He's
He turns
finally
how old?
13 years old. You
I
can
wish
send him
to
down
be
to the
the-
store to buy us smokes now.
I wish to be the King Kegel of Candor.
Don't worry,
Wants to be the cankle washer of Candor? What the fuck?
down for
The
that.
King Kegel of Candor.
All right.
I don't like anything you just said.
Well, I mean,
Come on.
if you don't like, if you don't want to say the same full thing, I guess we can just call him the KKK for sure. Short.
Yeah, that way we just covers the bases. Like we don't. It's very long. You don't need to say the entire
I mean,
thing.
Kegel is a very unruly word. You know,
What
it's
about
just
Kegelführer?
With a K?
yeah.
Of course. With like 3 Ks.
It doesn't say Kegel like the exercise. Hang on.
Deep dive, no chat.
Never mind.
All right.
Forget it.
We gave you guys the extra hour. I think it's about good time to wrap it up now. We've
Yeah.
had some fun. I don't know if I'm streaming with Nebula tonight. I think I still am. I haven't heard from him today.
I think we should just kill Nebula.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
That's
I am
the common
down
theme
for
right
murder.
there.
I've got 4 extra E-tools. There's a lot of desert out here.
Nice.
Have them come for a visit.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, so thank you all for joining us today. Next week is a special episode. It is the
Thank you
Astro
for having
Power
me.
Hour. If anything goes wrong, it's completely his fault. I don't know the topic, so
true.
please ping Astro in the Discord repeatedly and either demand or suggest topics to him.
Please do that. I don't think he's going to be able to come up with a good one in time.
I don't.
I'm
know, but we'll find out.
excited for Astro.
Astro
to,
will
like,
assume direct
give
control.
us like an hour.
I am
to
beyond
be like,
excited.
by the way,
Astro's great.
Here's all this stuff to look.
I do enjoy Astro. I apologize for derailing the conversation after my 2 valid inputs to the topic at hand.
The conversation was great. This is technically speaking,
that
this
was
is what
fun.
people watch live streams for. This is what you know. This is a replacement for talk radio. A lot of the people here are,
that's very true.
Well, they're here for our personality and our banter. That's one of the reasons I think EFAP's fallen off so much is without Wolf there to be a good person to bounce off of, a lot of the banter's gone, and a lot of the insight isn't quite there anymore for a lot of the interesting story stuff. Because Rags hasn't seen all the stuff Mahler has, and Mahler will talk, but then he doesn't have anybody to elucidate his points with except Fringy. Except Fringy agrees with Mahler on almost everything because he's that kind of friend. So it makes it hard for points to be drawn out because Fringy doesn't ask leading questions to Mahler, or Mahler doesn't to Fringy. So.
No, but he is still my favorite. I love me the Green Bird.
Oh, I love Fringy. He's great. I think of all the current hosts, I think I'd love to have Fringy on here the most. I just love to talk about weird fantasy animals with Fringy for like an hour and a half. I think it'd be awesome to talk about all these different creatures like chocobos and stuff. He's always
Island in here.
Well, that's the thing. You're here, Pop, so it'd be great. The two of you would be nice.
Now, Pops would hate it. Pops, he'd like say something. He'd be like, "Oh, it'd be cool if this animal does this thing in the video game." And Pops would be like, "Why is this dog shit? Why does this animal do that? The animal would never do that." Yeah.
I know a little bit too much about like real life animal stuff. Like I'll read a book and I'll be like, "That wouldn't happen.
That wouldn't happen.
It
wouldn't happen. It's not real."
Knowing you, I know you
hobbits.
exactly wouldn't do
I can't do that. That's not right.
Tasmanian devil doesn't have the upper body strength to lift a building like that.
A buddy can't look like that. That's not right. He's not supposed to be big and wide and say stuff like Big Chungus.
Why is the turtle wearing spectacles?
I think
the stork could not pick up a coconut and bring it to Europe from Africa. Would not be possible.
It's time. It's
theoretically, if it could, would it be African or European?
Shush, both question. So with that, we're going to call it here. Fantasy Australian Wildlife, yes, not all farious, but Fringy's from Australia, so he knows them already.
Exactly.
Yes. So we're going to leave it here. Thank you all for joining us. We'll catch you guys next week.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Subscribe to Black Rooney.
Subscribe to
Black
Rooney.
I love you all.
Exactly.